Henry Williams. Vanderjagt tried to track him down, won't do it. Gizmo scores. Danny McManus, who was perfect on the last drive, 6 for 6, goes to work, delivering, picked off. Yo, Adrian Smith is going to score. Touchdown, Argonauts. Double blue and Grey Cup champions in 1996. Doug Flutie and the Toronto Argonauts.
From Toronto's Sky Dome, it's the Edmonton Eskimos and the Toronto Argonauts on CFL Live. As Doug Flutie enters, I remind you, we are live and interactive here at TSN. If you like, email us at cfl@tsn.ca with any questions or comments. And welcome to CFL Live. We begin with Week 8 and the Edmonton Eskimos and Toronto Argonauts. What a game it was. What a classic at Ivor Wynne Stadium last November. They were the two best in the league. Then they are the two best in the league now. The Eskimos at 6-1 leading the West and the entire CFL. The Argos on top of the East standings with a record of 5-2. Joined, of course, with the capable coaching panel here. Bob Obilovich, not only him, but, hey, what's going on? Les Brown of Hamilton Tiger Cats taking the job yesterday as an assistant. Congratulations. And Les, of course, staying on with us, which is great news. And Marty York, any coaching assignments here?
I'll be coaching both of these two.
Marty of the Globe and Mail with his picks in a moment. Normally when you talk about these two teams, you talk about the Eskimos' great defense and the Argos' outstanding offense led by Doug Flutie, but you can easily justify talking about the opposite units here. With more, let's head to Skydome now and join Gord Miller and Leif Pedersen.
Rod, on way to meeting each other in the Grey Cup last year, Edmonton and Toronto had distinct personalities. The Eskimos had a struggling offense and were supported by defense, while the Argos lit the league up offensively. Leaf, this year, they've kind of changed roles.
Well, they really do. I mean, you look at Edmonton, Gord, historically, it's always been a team that in the summertime, let's play great defense and have always good special teams, and that's going to carry the team till we get past Labor Day, and then we hope that the offense is going to come around. But this year's a completely different story, and it's really because of Danny McManus. He's played so well, and you see the categories that his team leads offensively. Total yards per game, 405, passing yards per game, and of course those sacks allowed. And consider that his offensive line's done a terrific job because he's not the most mobile quarterback. But I think that the real key this year is the offense has been carrying this team to 6-1, unlike in the past.
And struggling, a relative term for the Toronto Argonauts, but this is a team that appears to be trying to find its identity with the ball.
Well, I think it really is. I mean, you look at this team a year ago, and Doug Flutie really didn't know what to do with Mike Clements at this stage, but he certainly knows what to do with him now. And really the theme in Toronto is to get the ball in the hands of the people that can make plays, and the illustration clearly shows Mike Clements and Robert Drummond are leading this offense. The only thing that worries me, at some point in time, defenses may be able to take Clements and Drummond out of a particular game, and that means you're going to have to go to guys like Dwayne Demetrition. We really don't know what he's done. He's only caught 6 passes. Paul Mazzotti, somewhat underused at this stage, and of course Mike Saunders only playing in his 3rd game, so he's a bit of an unknown commodity. But I think slowly you're going to see Doug Flutie try to get a little bit more even pass distribution.
So you got the top 2 teams in the league. You've got the Grey Cup rematch from last year. What more could you ask for, right?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you, guys. And yes, the top 2 offenses in the CFL, especially after what Danny McManus did last week, coach to Winnipeg. I mean, that was absolute destruction. Him and Doug Flutie, expect the yardage to be piling up.
Well, right now you got the 2 hottest quarterbacks in the league as far as total yards. Danny McManus is throwing for 2,400 yards, and Doug Flutie's throwing for just over 2,000 himself. So you're going to have the defenses trying to stop these two hot quarterbacks. Doug's throwing 14 touchdowns, and Danny's throwing 12. So that's going to be an interesting part of this football game.
Well, this could get confusing. Call you coach. I'll call you coach and ask you about Edmonton's defense. The task at hand. Calgary did a pretty good job against Flutie last week, all things considered.
Well, both of these teams have two great defenses, but I got to give the edge to Toronto tonight because with the addition of Mike O'Shea back in the lineup, that's going to help Toronto out tremendously with the run. But with the absence of Benny Good from Edmonton's front seven, that's going to hurt them tremendously because even though Mike Sellers is a good fill-in for him, he is not going to take up the bodies that Toronto's offensive line would have to use against a Benny Goods.
With a victory tonight, Marty York had moved back to the 500 mark, and we're all looking forward to that. So here is your pick tonight. What's the spread, and who do you like?
Rod, Las Vegas is favoring the Argos by 4.5 points, and I'm picking the Argos tonight. I just can't see the Argos losing 2 weeks in a row. Now look for Doug Flutie to help the Argos more this week with his feet. I hear he'll be running more than he has been. And running is something, as you guys know, that Danny McManus doesn't do very well. He's had a very good season so far, but tonight he'll be facing a defense that will be pressuring him into turnovers, I'm sure. He can try to run, but he won't be able to hide. And by the way, the Eskimos guys will be without two of their key players tonight, Brown and Goods. Brown is ill, and Goods has an ankle injury. So take the Argos, lay the points, guys, because I think they're going to win big tonight. They're going to be hungry, because if they win tonight, they'll have recorded their 12th consecutive victory at home, and that'll tie a team record that they set from 1990 to 1992. And they should have a good crowd tonight, too.
Marty, have you ever picked a game where Danny McManus was favored?
Well, yeah, sure I have. Sure I have, but not tonight.
Okay, starting early about Danny Mac. He was so impressive last week. The Argos wanting to avoid those 2 straight losses. Marty talked about that. That's something Don Matthews hates. Hasn't happened for a few years with one of his teams. Argos psyched up. I'm sure the Eskimos are too. That kickoff from Skydome is coming up right after this. There are 2 games in the CFL tonight. The other one starting in about an hour and 20 minutes at Winnipeg Stadium. It is the Blue Bombers, tied with Hamilton for the worst record in the CFL at 1-6, taking on the up-and-comers, the Calgary Stampeders, who started at 0-3, but with a win tonight, and many expect them to get it in Winnipeg, Garcia and company would improve to 4-4 and into a second-place tie with the BC Lions and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who, of course, yet to play. Calgary really coming on in that one, taking on the Blue Bombers, and we'll try to have updates for you in that game before we go tonight. And Les, Winnipeg tied with Hamilton at 1-6, but the Bombers right now, I think against Calgary, the way things went a couple of weeks ago, aren't overly optimistic. The Stampeders have really been coming on.
This team, Winnipeg, is in trouble. They have to face a really good Calgary Stampeder team, which at the beginning of the season, I didn't think they were all that bad. They just had a lot of bad breaks happen to them. But look at the stats, and they are right up there with everybody else.
Talking about a team at the bottom of the CFL. As for the top of the CFL, it is the Eskimos and the Argos, best of the East against best of the West. Let's head live to Skydome now. Gordon Miller and Lee Pedersen.
Well, Ron, the last time we saw the Argos and the Eskimos, the weather wasn't nearly this nice. It was in Hamilton, and the 1996 Grey Cup game. We all remember the throw in the snow last year. This year with the roof open, a nice evening in southern Ontario. On the Edmonton Eskimos sideline is 58-year-old Ron Lancaster. Needs 1 win to tie George Brancato for 10th on the CFL's all-time win list. He thinks the Grey Cup rematch is overhyped, and he's more concerned about his team in 1997. Why would you be concerned, though? His club is 6-1, best record in the Canadian Football League. Also 58 years old is Don Matthews, a man whose team suffered just its 2nd loss of the year last week in Calgary. 5 more wins will make him the CFL's all-time leader in regular season wins. But right now, his primary concern is seeing his team bounce back. The Edmonton Eskimos will receive, they're in their road white uniforms, the Toronto Argonauts in their home blue at Skydome, where they have not lost since their season opener 1 year ago. The Argos gunning to tie the team record, as you heard earlier, with a 12th consecutive home win. The Edmonton Eskimos have won 4 straight on the road. Mike Vanderjagt kicks it away. This is Eric Blunt from the 24-yard line. Blunt with the wedge in front of him, picks his way across the 30, and is brought down there by Toronto's George Namako. A 51-yard kickoff, a 13-yard return sets up Danny McManus and the Edmonton Eskimo offense. McManus has more passing yards than any quarterback in the Canadian Football League. And the Edmonton Eskimo offense has been dynamite. Now some changes. Blair and Gordon switched spots with Eddie Brown out this week. And also new in the lineup is Shannon Myers, number 88. He gets his first start in place of Eddie Brown. And the offensive line has a change as well. Derek Scholdice at left guard. Vic Stevenson, the veteran, will get some work there. On first down, McManus for Blunt. And that pass is quickly incomplete.
And for the Toronto Argonauts tonight, the defense that Danny McManus will look at consists of Demetrius Maxey, Andrew Stewart, Rob Waldrop, and Reggie Gibbons again starting as a rush end. Mike O'Shea will be in the middle with Ken Benson and Eric Johnson on the outsides. Donald Smith back again for the third game, playing with still a broken arm. He'll play with that cast all season long, but this is a very, very good secondary.
Only Edmonton has allowed fewer points than the Toronto Argonauts in 1997. On second down, here comes the blitz. McManus sees it, gets the pass away for Darren Flutie, tipped up in the air and almost intercepted by Johnny Harris. And that ball kind of hung up a little bit, and the Argos had the best chance to catch it.
And the pressure comes from Demetrius Maxey to the right of your screen. They just turn him loose, and Danny McManus has to turn the ball loose before he's ready, and he throws a flutter ball downfield. And the Edmonton Eskimos have protected well for the most part this season, but on the opening series, Maxey comes totally free, and Danny McManus pays the price. And a nice way if you're Bill Bradley, the defensive coordinator of the Argonauts, to start this ball game.
Sean Fleming is the only punter in the Canadian Football League who averages under 40 yards a kick. It's his first year as the full-time punter. That's a good one. The pinball chased back to the 25-yard line. Here comes Clemens, who was dynamite last week against Calgary, out to the 35-yard line. A 47-yard punt by Fleming, a 10-yard return by Mike Clemens. So on comes Doug Flutie. Well, last week he was pretty hot against the Calgary Stampeders, but his Argos once again fell to his former team. And Flutie, with over 2,000 yards so far in the season, is also a possibility to rush for 1,000. And joining him in the offense, the usual suspects, Clemens and Drummond in the backfield, Mazzotti, Saunders, Mitchell, and Dimitrishin are up front. The offensive line anchored by Mike Kiselak, the CFL's outstanding offensive lineman last year. On first down, play action, and Flutie goes back to the man he faked to, Robert Drummond. And Drummond's got a first down and then some, stepping out of bounds at the Toronto Argonaut 53-yard line. Willie Pless forced him out after a gain of 18 yards.
And Willie Pless will have to do a lot of chasing of a Robert Drummond tonight. The defense that Doug Flutie will face. Notable change up front. Les Brown talked about it. Benny Goods out, Doug Sellers in. Linebacking core, Tommy Henry, Bruce Dixon replaced Singor Mobley and Larry Ruck from a year ago. And a secondary that has solid corners in Cavis Reed and Malcolm Frank.
On first down, Flutie from the shotgun, fires it over the middle, incomplete for Mike Saunders. That will bring up second down. Saunders is the converted running back to slot back, and that slot position has really been a question mark for the Argos this year.
I ran into Mike yesterday leaving practice and talked about, is he comfortable with playing the slot yet? And he said slowly, but this is not an easy transition to go from running back to slot. The reads are so much different, and it's going to take him a while.
Flutie from the shotgun on second down. Edmonton rushes just 4. Flutie goes over the middle for Darryl Mitchell. That is incomplete. And the Toronto Argonauts will be forced to punt. So two teams that are dynamite defensively flexing their muscles early here.
Yeah, and what I think is unusual, it seems like every game that I do of the Toronto Argonauts, Doug Flutie gets his team off to a terrific start on their opening series, and more often than not scores some points on that opening series. Now it's a quick first down and 2 and out.
There's the gizmo. Henry Williams back to receive the punt of Mike Vanderjagt, the league's #1 punter. This chases Don Blair all the way back to the 6. Blair, the other man back deep, gets out across the 20 to the 22. The stop is made there by Brendan Rodgers. No score between the Eskimos and Argos, just underway at Skydome.
The CFL Live on TSN is brought to you by Advantage, providing solutions for business.
Well, when you talk about the best of the best, you're talking about Edmonton and Toronto. These teams lead in 21 of 35 offensive categories. They lead in 17 of 25 defensive categories. Of the 60 statistical categories kept in the Canadian Football League Leaf, the Edmonton Eskimos and Toronto Argonauts are first and second in 22 of them.
First and second?
Yes, first and second. They are 1 and 2. Uno and Duzo.
So the bottom line from that comment is we have two quality football teams playing tonight.
Yeah, good teams.
First or second?
Statistically speaking, that is. Edmonton starts at the 22-yard line. McManus going out there for Don Blair. That's twice they've tried that. The first time to Eric Blunt. The second time to Don Blair, and the pass was too high on both occasions, and it'll bring up second down. Don Blair, of course, with fond memories of the stadium he played in and won a Vanier Cup here with the Calgary Dinosaurs.
Yes, he did, and I think the fact that he was in training camp for the first time with the Edmonton Eskimos this year is going to help him. 16 catches so far in the season. Not a lot, but just enough to get his feet wet in this office, and I really do think in time he's going to make some serious contributions to this team.
Now McManus from the shotgun. Here comes the blitz, and McManus is under pressure. Sidearms it out there for Shannon Myers, and Myers has the catch, his first Canadian Football League catch. Gives Edmonton a first down up at the 44-yard line.
A fifth-round pick of the Miami Dolphins in 1995. He dove to catch a pass with the Dolphins and hurt his kidney so badly he had to have part of it removed. And when he came back, Jimmy Johnson turned him loose with Miami. Edmonton picked him up, and asking Ron Lancaster, is this guy any good? He said, I don't know. We'll find out tonight. And on that first catch, he was certainly willing to go up and fight for the football, which is always a good sign.
Pickup of 22 yards for an Edmonton first down. Now Eric Blunt on the carry, and Blunt fighting his way out across the 45, gets out to about the 48.
One of the interesting things, Gord, you look at Edmonton's offense and you think with Big Tony Burse at fullback and Eric Blunt at tailback, who had over 1,000 yards a year ago, that you might think that Edmonton would really focus on the running game. Well, the running game's been kind of a sore spot with them. They just haven't got it going. They only average about 61 yards a game, and quite simply, they've had blocking problems. They just have not done a good job. So Lancaster says, why put yourself in 2nd and 8 all the time? We're going to be a throwing team.
And here they are now in 2nd and long. McManus from the shotgun slings it out there for Blair. That pass is incomplete, and the Eskimos will once again have to punt. We mentioned that Blair has great memories of Skydome. The Edmonton Eskimos do not have a great feeling about this city. In fact, the Eskimos have lost 12 of their last 15 regular season games in Toronto.
Yeah, it just seems like every time they come into Skydome, and I know Ron Lancaster used to talk about the fact that when the roof was closed, the players complained of the dead air in here and that it was really tough to play in this place. They got tired, but no excuses tonight. The roof is open, the air is nice and fresh, so we'll see if they can improve on their past performances here.
Sean Fleming with another high kick. This is the pinball from the 25-yard line. Tracked down immediately by Trent Brown, and likely too quickly a flag is down. That'll be no yards. Well, tonight Dick Shadow is back in the spotlight in Toronto. Think about this man who had a 12-year career with the Toronto Argonauts. When he retired in 1965, he'd scored more touchdowns, caught more passes, and accounted for more offensive yards than any player in the history of the CFL. 465 catches as a Toronto Argonaut. But tonight, that record may very well fall because the pinball, Mike Clemens, enters this game only 1 catch away from tying and 2 catches away from setting the all-time reception record.
Yeah, and I think a few years ago, you probably wouldn't have suspected that Mike Clemens would do it. In fact, he will do it tonight.
Here's the give to Robert Drummond, and Drummond, who is far more accustomed to catching the ball and running with it, takes the handoff there and is stacked up by this tough Edmonton defense. Leroy Blue and Willie Pless come up to make the stop. But you talked about it in the opening, Leaf. Drummond and Clemens really do account for a disproportionate share of this Toronto offense. 60% of the catches go to one of those two guys.
And it's really a simple philosophy of getting the ball into the players' hands that can make plays. And at this point in time, it is Mike Clemens and Robert Drummond. So they've found a number of different ways to do it with the shovel passes and so forth, the high percentage plays, but get the ball quickly to the guys that can do some damage.
Now on 2nd and long, Andre Kerwan checks in, number 81. The pass over the middle for Darryl Mitchell. Oh, what a catch. No, they rule no catch. The official in behind says that the ball was bobbled. Daryl Mitchell twice has been close, but so far does not have a catch.
And you're going to get a good look, end zone, straight down the middle. And one of the areas that Edmonton does not like you to try to penetrate is that middle. They do anything they can to wall you off. That time Glenn Rogers couldn't wall Daryl Mitchell off, but clearly he did not make the catch. An excellent call. That's, you know, sorry, Gordon, you talk about Edmonton's famous match zone defense that they like to play, and it's designed to make quarterbacks throw to the outside, not allow receivers inside. But so far, Toronto's been able to get some receivers in there and get them open.
Here's the gizmo. Henry Williams from the 17-yard line trying to get outside. Donald Smith forced it back in. John Raposo comes back on to finish him off. Just a 3-yard return. Still no score between Edmonton and Toronto on the CFL Live. We mentioned earlier the conditions were a lot different, but what a Grey Cup game Edmonton and Toronto played last year. Eddie Brown, Jimmy Cunningham, Jim Sandusky, the gizmo, Henry Williams, Adrian Smith, they all scored big touchdowns in that game. Think about it. A big difference for the Toronto Argonauts is certainly the loss of Jimmy Cunningham.
Yes, and I underlined Jimmy Cunningham's touchdown run because that was the turning point in that game.
That was the TSN turning point, wasn't it?
Wow, it was. Big play.
Eskimos begin at their own 20. They give it off to Eric Blunt, and he runs right into the arms of Andrew Stewart, who limits the gain to maybe a yard. You think about that Grey Cup game, Leaf. The Edmonton Eskimos hold Doug Flutie without a touchdown pass and lose the game.
Yeah, I think if you'd given that scenario before the game, you would have laid a lot of money on Edmonton.
And even then, with all the big plays in that game, it was an interception by Adrian Smith for a touchdown late in the game that really sealed it for the Toronto Argonauts. The conditions are much nicer tonight. I get a chill just thinking about that game last November in Hamilton. McManus from the shotgun. He's been cold to start. Out he goes for Shannon Myers. Myers has the catch up to the 29-yard line. That'll leave him a good yard short of an Edmonton first down. Lancaster indicating that it's time for the punting unit to come on the field. But Shannon Myers did a pretty good job.
And you really see how Adrian Smith likes to cheat and look into the backfield. They're really ignoring the receiver and just watching the eyes of Danny McManus. And when he looks his way, then Adrian Smith starts to break down and break on the football as he did. And, you know, Ron Lancaster not in a gambling mood at this stage, and I don't blame him. That's a good yard and a half short. But it brings up the point that I talked to Lancaster about earlier. They found themselves in 2nd and 9 situations because of the running play. And that's why they're not running the football very much or very effectively.
Mike Clemens, the lone man back for this punt from Sean Fleming. Wobbly kick to Clemens standing at the 40. The pinball gets a block, gets out across the 50, gets hammered by Tony Burse as he gets up to the 52-yard line. An 11-yard return. Now, Leaf, you talked about it moments ago, how good Doug Flutie is on his opening and second drives. You compare the numbers in 97 to 96, you can see a real sharp drop-off.
Yeah, it hasn't been as productive this year, but still, I think he has a pretty good percentage of achieving points on the opening drives and trying to set the tone. Of course, he doesn't play against Edmonton's defense every week as well.
And this Edmonton defense, it should be pointed out, was designed almost specifically to stop Doug Flutie.
It was when he was with Calgary, and they designed this match zone that we'll try and talk more about tonight.
Flutie with the reverse option to Robert Drummond. Drummond down into Edmonton territory, crosses the 45 down to the 43.
And this is the dilemma that the defense faces with the shovel pass. Here's Melvin Hunter. He has to respect to the outside, and as soon as he commits, they just shovel it up inside him. But you watch Hunter. He has a dilemma. What do I do now? Do I take Flutie? He gets caught in no man's land. They get good seal blocking to the inside, and that becomes an excellent play.
First down, Toronto into Edmonton territory. They want that again. Flutie throws it. Instead of pitching it, Drummond has the catch, and another first down and then some. Drummond still going, steps out of bounds at the 16-yard line. Leaf on a play that looked like it was stuffed. Flutie improvises.
Well, I mean, you know, Jed Roberts, you look at up front, this is the critical point in this play. When they come like that, Toronto has to get the block of the nose. There's 43, Jed Roberts. He has a chance right there, but can't make it. And, you know, it looked like an awful play to begin with, but technically the linemen held onto their blocks just long enough.
A 28-yard gain for another Toronto first down. Flutie from the shotgun. to the end zone. Actually, Mazzotti now down at the 5. There's a flag in the end zone. And it looked like there was some contact down there between Mike Clemens and Tommy Henry in the end zone. We'll see what the flag is all about. As it is, Mazzotti has a catch down at the 5, which should be good for a Toronto first down, and the penalty is against Edmonton.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver, Edmonton number 13. Penalty is declined, first down.
So the penalty on Tommy Henry is declined. Toronto will take the first down at the 5.
And you look at changes in this defense. Tommy Henry replaces Singor Mobley, who did a terrific job at that weak side linebacker for Ron Lancaster a year ago. And I mean, this is a question mark. Can Tommy Henry, game in, game out, play this sophisticated kind of coverage and not make mistakes?
First and goal from the 5. Drummond fights his way close to the goal line and gets tripped up down at the 1. And we've seen Robert Drummond running the ball in this game more than you'll see him in an entire game most of the time.
You know, when you get a look like this, watch Mike Kiselak, the center. They get the double team at the focal point on Jed Roberts there. They blow Roberts out of the hole, and, you know, then Drummond has to make his own way. He can't block everybody down there, but Robert Drummond, who has 11 touchdowns total so far this year, the league leader, as he was to finish the season a year ago, and not surprising he gets the bulk of the work down here.
Second and goal from the 1. Flutie gives it off to Drummond, going up and over and didn't get there. Melvin Hunter does a great job sneaking in behind to grab Robert Drummond. It'll be third and goal from the 1.
Well, the key for Hunter was just absolute penetration from the outside, and it almost looks like he cheats a little bit. Here he is, and watch how he slides down the line of scrimmage and sneaks in behind Drummond and gets him from the outside. And, you know, Pinball Clemens just couldn't make the block, but he kind of cheated up. Didn't look like he gave a yard and got away with it.
Third and goal from the 1. Edmonton has allowed the fewest touchdowns in the league this year. One more shot. They run the option to Drummond. He's bottled up. He laterals it back. Loose ball. Mike Saunders has it for Toronto. Now Saunders throws a pass to the end zone, incomplete. I'll tell you what, Doug Flutie is down at the 5 on a play where the Argos improvise. But the Argos are turned away, and Flutie is shaken up. No score between Edmonton and Toronto. Back to Skydome right after this. Back at Skydome, the ball is at the 1, and the reason it's at the 1 is the Edmonton Eskimos turned the Argos away on third and goal.
And earlier they had trouble defending the option, but when you don't have to worry about the pass, sometimes you can come up and play that option a little differently and certainly more aggressively. And in a minute, we're going to have a look at that great goal line stand that they made.
On first down, McManus in the end zone, almost intercepted. Johnny Harris should have 2 interceptions by now. Ken Benson got his hand on that first, but the pass falls incomplete.
Well, Ken Benson, you know, throws right into the arms right there, and I mean that should be a pick. And sometimes you wonder why guys get chosen to play defense. No hands.
Exactly.
Because Ken Benson had certainly an interception and maybe a touchdown.
Now on 2nd and 10 from the 1, McManus to the shotgun. Here comes the blitz. McManus under pressure, gets it away, and almost picked off again. He was looking there for Robert Gordon, who was covered step for step by Marcelo Simmons, and Edmonton will be forced to punt.
Well, Toronto really pulling out all the stops against Danny McManus. Backed up, they come with the safety blitz, and you know, you're counting on your defensive backs to snug up on the coverage as Marcelo Simmons did. There's Lester Smith right there coming. Not enough people to protect. Danny McManus knows it, has to get rid of the football. But, you know, in this situation backed up, I sure like Bill Bradley's call, the defensive coordinator of the Argonauts, to just bring everybody at McManus and try and get a break.
Whoa, bad snap to Sean Fleming. Actually, the snap was fine, a bad reception, and Fleming kicks it. Caught by Harris at the 10. There'll be no yards against Edmonton. It's a disaster for the Eskimos. Fleming would have been much better off giving up 2.
Yeah, that's really a mental error, and I think Sean Fleming now knows the error that he committed, and Ron Lancaster, I'm sure we'll have a talk with him because, you know, it was a good snap. Nothing wrong with the snap. The rookie Fairway with a good snap, but Fleming just lost his concentration not only there, but now, because this is a ball that definitely should not have been kicked. Give up the 2. Heck, we're only in the first quarter. Don't give up a potential touchdown as he did here.
Well, now Harris with the punt return, the no yards call, moves it down just outside the 6. Sean Fleming has a discussion with Ron Lancaster on his way off. So the Argos, who were just here a minute ago, now have it 1st and goal at the 6 after being turned away on 3 tries from the 5 last time.
And that's really an inexcusable play by Sean Fleming. I mean, he's a veteran. It's not a rookie where he should be excited and didn't know what to do. He should make that play. Give up the 2.
First down, Toronto. Flutie back in, looking to the end zone. Paul Mazzotti, touchdown! What a grab by Mazzotti. Up and over he goes for the score, and the Argos take quick advantage of the Edmonton Eskimos' special teams mistake.
And Edmonton will argue that he might have been out of bounds, but he caught the ball in the field of play and was pushed out of bounds, and his momentum took him out. But this is a heck of a catch, and you know, pretty interesting throw by Flutie. He almost throws it behind Mazzotti on purpose, knowing that the defensive back Tavis Reed cannot locate the football, and Mazzotti is able to see it all the way and adjust to it, and that is a heck of a touchdown catch. So the Argonauts capitalize quickly on a mistake by Sean Fleming.
3rd touchdown catch of the year for Paul Mazzotti, only his 2nd in the last 6 games. And the Toronto Argonauts have the first points of this game, a touchdown, to take a 7-0 lead with 3 minutes to play in the first quarter.
At the top of your screen, watch the throw. It's behind Malcolm Frank. And Mazzotti adjusts because Frank can never get his head turned around to locate the football. And that's not a criticism. That's a very difficult play for a corner to make. You almost have to look into Mazzotti's eyes. And when he moves for the football, you do too. But that play happened so quickly that Frank couldn't adjust, and Mazzotti made the terrific adjustment. And boy, there are the numbers. And I don't know, 1,500 yards or so to catch DK Smith for all time. Number 2's not bad.
Yeah, no kidding. Number 2's not bad at all. And while we have a moment, let's take you back to the play on the goal line previously, Leaf, and what a play by the Edmonton defense.
Well, it really was, and you know, this is where they stopped him on 3rd down. You stop it here. I mean, here's Mal Hunter, here's Glenn Rogers. They're man on man. And now you can defense this because you're not worried about the pass with that kind of tight formation. Maybe next time down there, I think you're going to see Doug Flutie fake that and throw, but now the fun starts.
Yeah, Mike Saunders, who I don't believe is left-handed, with the throw to the end zone.
I hope he's not left-handed.
If he is, he's got some explaining to do.
Well, we're practicing one or the other.
Vanderjagt now to kick it off as the Argos have taken the lead. Here's the Gizmo, Henry Williams from the 23-yard line. And the Giz just dives straight ahead out to the 40 he goes before the stop is made there by Noah Cantor, a 17-yard return. And now this Edmonton offense, which came into the league leading in so many key categories, trails this tough Toronto defense.
And already you see what Danny McManus did a week ago, a pretty flawless performance with no interceptions. And I think that's been a big difference in his game this year. You know, Gord, throughout his career, Danny McManus has thrown 103 interceptions and 84 touchdown passes. Not the ratio you want, but this year he's thrown more touchdowns and interceptions, and I think that's the reason for his success.
McManus under pressure now, steps up. He's got Don Blair up around the 50. That should be good for an Edmonton first down. And you take out the 5 interception performance that Danny McManus put up, and he's having a great year, but you can't do that. Don Blair last week had his best receiving game as an Eskimo. What's interesting to note is he has scored a CFL touchdown before, but not catching the ball. He did it on a punt return last year against Winnipeg, so Blair has yet to see the ball on offense in the end zone.
It's only a matter of time.
Oh, he's a good one.
He is. He's a great one. He was a good one at Calgary. I love watching him play, and saw him in the Vanier Cup where he had a tremendous performance here in Toronto for the Dinosaurs.
And he
tried his luck in the NFL, just couldn't crack it with Chicago Bears. And then, of course, Edmonton very happy to have him come back, and I'm sure he learned a lot when he was with the Bears in that kind of a system.
First down for the Eskimos to the 51-yard line. McManus, quick drop, has it there to Robert Gordon. He's got the catch down to the 51-yard line. That'll be a gain of about 8, and the Edmonton Eskimos have crossed midfield for the first time in this game.
Yes, they have, and I think the defensive philosophy is pretty interesting what they're doing. Bobby Gordon's a pretty dangerous receiver, but Bill Bradley has decided tonight to blitz far more in this first quarter than I've seen them do this season. And, you know, he's asking his receiver, or his defensive backs rather, to come up and challenge guys like Bobby Gordon. And it's a bit of a different philosophy we're seeing from Toronto, but that's good. You need to change from week to week to give the offensive coordinators a different look.
2nd and 2. Tony Burse fights his way inside the 50 down to the 47. He'll have a first down for the Edmonton Eskimos. And of course, a difference between what Toronto's doing this week and what Winnipeg did last week, which was leave its defensive backs to the mercy of the Edmonton Eskimos, and that's how people like Darren Flutie get 15 catches and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, but I also think this is a different secondary that Edmonton's facing tonight. I mean, this is a good secondary. They're starting 5 imports. You got Lester Smith in the middle that really anchors that. And, you know, I like Bill Bradley's style. Give Edmonton a different look tonight.
Now McManus going over the top. He has a man, and he has a touchdown. Don Blair, and guess what? That's his first receiving touchdown in the CFL.
And Danny McManus played a game with Donald Smith on the corner. Don Smith and Adrian Smith, the 2 Toronto corners, they like to look into the backfield at the quarterback, and sometimes they disregard the receiver, and Donald Smith kind of bit. Danny McManus indicated early, looked like he was going to throw it in the flat. See that? The quick little pump that froze Don Smith, and Don Blair snuck in behind him. And when you look into the backfield, Les Brown back in the studio will tell you, sometimes you could get burned if you want to cheat and try and jump those hooks. Donald Smith got burned, and Don Blair got his first CFL touchdown receiving.
47 yards he goes, and the Edmonton Eskimos come back just like that.
How did you know that? You just talked about that he was going to get his first touchdown soon.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
Well, it was good play, and I'll tell you what, they caught Don Smith. I love it. They caught him cheating, peeking into that backfield, and Danny McManus, you're going to see, watch just a little subtle pump right now out to the flat, and that was just enough, and he caught Don Smith cheating, and he got nailed.
And you think about Don Blair, and this is a guy who made a name for himself in football before he ever played in the Canadian Football League. He won the Heck Crichton Trophy as the most outstanding player in Canadian university football, and he was the Vanier Cup most valuable player in the 1995 game, which was one of the great Vanier Cups you'll ever see.
And there's receivers in university football that come along every once in a while. Tyrone Williams, when he played for Western, dominated CIAU football. This fellow right here, Don Blair, there was not a defensive back in the country that could cover him.
And this is a guy who moves out to wide receiver this week. Robert Gordon moves inside because they felt that with Eddie Brown out of the lineup this week, they really needed some deep speed outside.
And I've said it for years, I think Bobby Gordon, although he doesn't like it and won't admit it, is a better slot back than a wide receiver. I think this makes their offense better doing that.
Sean Fleming kicks it off deep to Mike Clemens, and the pinball coming up from the 2. And he'll get out as far as the 25-yard line before he's stopped there by Mike Sellers. A 22-yard return, and Donald Smith, broken hand and all.
He's mad.
Getting involved there. 4 plays, 70 yards. Don Blair caps it off with the 47-yard pass and run touchdown to tie this game at 7. And this game is featured what you might have expected between these two. Lots of good defense, but solid offensive play as well. And they're picking up right where they left off in November in Hamilton. Doug Flutie, if you were with us earlier, shaken up a little bit 2 series ago, but he appears to be all right. And his numbers would indicate that as well. Flutie from the shotgun on first down. He's going deep. Wants Darryl Mitchell, intercepted by Glenn Rogers. And now Rogers coming back the other way. Rogers gets up to the 52-yard line of the Edmonton Eskimos, who will get the ball right back, and Flutie screaming at referee George Black, and I'm not sure what he's mad about.
Late hit on the interception. Somebody took a shot at him, but Glenn Rogers, perfect position. This is a play where you have tremendous confidence in your ability to close on the football, because there's no question Darryl Mitchell is open early. But Rogers kind of gambled there and was able to close on it, and he becomes the receiver and makes a nice catch. Darryl Mitchell's got to learn that when he's not going to catch that football, he's got to come back and break it up.
4th interception of the year for Glenn Rogers. First down Edmonton from the 52. They give it off to Eric Blunt, and once again Andrew Stewart gets all over him. A gain of 2 out to midfield, and now we know why Flutie's mad.
Well, whenever there's an interception, I'll tell you there's a defensive player start looking for the quarterback, and in this case it's Derek McCready.
Whoa.
That was a clip. It should have been called. It wasn't. My oh my. Doug Flutie has a reason to be upset with that.
Derek McCready just slyly grinning on the sidelines.
He said, I got him.
2nd and 8 now. Edmonton from the shotgun. McManus. Lots of time. Now he's slinging it deep, looking for Robert Gordon. And Gordon had to restart his route, working on Marcelo Simmons. The pass falls incomplete. Edmonton will have to punt. That's the final play of the opening quarter. The Edmonton Eskimos and Toronto Argonauts each take advantage of early opportunities. This game tied at 7. Now we'll send you back to our CFL Live control center.
CFL Live at the Quarter is brought to you by Midas for new, longer-lasting carbon metallic brake pads.
Welcome back, CFL Live at the Quarter. Hey, you'd expect it from the two best teams in the league. A little bit of everything. Bit of offense, great defense. Special teams a big factor so far in this football game. Defensively, specifically, Lance, so far in this game, both sides playing very strong.
Well, you know what? I might have stuck my foot in my mouth at the beginning of the beginning of the show when I said that Edmonton's defense wasn't going to perform as good without Benny Goods. And now they got the only team in the CFL that I've known to stop Toronto on a goal line stance. You know, with shutting down Drummond from the 1-yard line is something huge. And now you see that Glenn Rogers Jr. picks off Doug Flutie, which we've seen that happen now 2 weeks in a row. Him trying to throw the deep ball and getting it picked off. Can he throw the deep ball?
Well, I don't know if he can throw the deep ball anymore, but I will still predict that before this game is over, you're going to see Danny McManus throw an interception that's really going to determine the outcome of this game.
You want him to.
No, it's just that he has not faced this kind of defense yet this year. And so he had a good game last week. He didn't throw any interceptions last week. That was against Winnipeg. Against Toronto, it's a different story. And there should have been 3 interceptions in that quarter for the Argonauts.
Wait a minute, if I could have.
Right in his hand.
We'd have a heck of a party in here.
Hey, we got to talk about special teams. It's quite obvious what happened with Sean Fleming. I wished he had it back, but I could just see you cringe there as that play unfolded.
Right. I mean, Sean, this is the first year that Sean Fleming's done both duties, and really, when you get a bad snap in the end zone like that, you should just give up the 2 points, and it ends up they give him a touchdown because of that turnover. So he's having a tough time making the adjustment. He's last in the league with a 38-yard average punting, and he's last in net punting with 34 yards. So, you know, he's making a tough adjustment this year.
Well, that led to the Argos touchdown, but it looks like after strong D in the first quarter, the offenses look ready to open up a little bit more. Tied at 7. Back to Scott and we go, guys.
All right, thank you, Rod. Bob Bilovich, the coach, and Les Brown, the coach, leave. He's a practice coach for Hamilton now.
I want to congratulate Les. I truly mean this. I think it's long overdue that he gets into coaching. He's got a wealth of knowledge on how to play defensive back and how to work against receivers, and I really think he's going to help the Ticats secondary. I wish him all the best.
Well, I'll tell you what, Edmonton's special teams coaching might want to talk to Sean Fleming, because that, in golf vernacular, was a shank.
That was major shank.
He hit that sideways.
Do you know what? We were watching Sean Fleming down in the warm-up tonight, and he did not have a good warm-up. And sometimes that's applicable to what happens in a game, sometimes it's not. He did not have a great warm-up punting the football, and, you know, see his eyes. He's peeking downfield at the rush.
Well, he knew as soon as he hit it. It's a 2-yard punt.
Should have gambled on 3rd down.
You might think about it now. He should have retreated 40 yards and given up the safety. First down from the 53. Flutie over the middle. Darryl Mitchell has the catch. A first down to the Edmonton 40. Derek Beattie makes the stop, but Mitchell has been close a couple of times. Finally has a grab.
Well, the good news is here's Darryl Mitchell, and the man-to-man, Edmonton either plays this match zone coverage or they play man-to-man. Toronto catches the man-to-man here. This is simple. Work him. He's got to come back to the quarterback a little bit harder. He still makes the catch, but he still has to work on as a young receiver. When he gets separation from a DB, work back to Doug Flutie. I'll tell you what, you take a lot less hits if you can do that.
And that's always good.
It's very good.
That comes from the master, Leif Pedersen. Flutie gets it out there for Mike Clemens, and pinball forced out of bounds down the 32-yard line. And with that catch, pinball has tied Dick Shadow's Argo team record for most career receptions And now with the next catch, the pinball will break it.
Quite an accomplishment for Mike Clements, and between he and Robert Drummond, they really have carried this offense this year with their patch casting abilities, and you have to give him a lot of credit how he's changed his game in the last 2 seasons. Worked so hard last year to be an accomplished slot back, and that's really what he is in this offense. And of course this year leading the league in receptions so far, and that's the fellow that he's going to surpass.
The handoff goes to Robert Drummond, trying the left side. Drummond gets down to about the 27-yard line, and that'll be a first down for the Argos. Well, there were those who said 2 or 3 years ago, Leaf, that the pinball was done.
And I was one of those that didn't say he was done, but was very worried about the longevity of his career at that point. But boy, oh boy, he has recycled himself, but he's done it with intelligence. He's learned how to play a different position and made an enormous contribution to this team. Now he's lined up as a wide receiver out there.
From the shotgun, Flutie, lots of time. Over the middle, he's got Mike Saunders wide open. Saunders, touchdown! 27 yards, and Mike Saunders, who's also learning a new position, has his second touchdown catch of the year.
And the premise of the Edmonton defense is not to allow receivers to get across the field on crossing routes. And look what happens when you do. Mike Saunders is going to come from the left of your screen here. Now there's the chase. They're chasing this way, but nobody chases Saunders coming that way. And he is wide open. Sometimes you get lucky. You create confusion with crossing in formations. They created a lot of confusion. Blocked just enough by Daryl Mitchell to allow Saunders to get into the end zone.
Mike Vanderjagt for the point after, and it is good, but just barely. Mike Saunders with the touchdown catch. The Argos regain the lead with 12:35 to play in the first half.
Helen, you have really had some tough battles recently. Far bigger than any battles you ever had on tennis court. 2 sets of surgery to remove brain tumor. How are you feeling right now? What's your schedule?
Well, I feel really good right now. I've already started back into training. I've only been out of the hospital for 2 months. And I'm planning on my first tournament back in November at the Bell Challenge in Quebec City. So it'll be nice to come back and make my comeback in Canada.
All Canadian tennis fans very anxious to get you back. Now, you're here at a CFL game. You've got a little bit of an affinity to the Edmonton Eskimos, don't you?
Well, the first game I ever saw was an Edmonton Eskimo game when I was 13 living in Edmonton. So yeah, I'm rooting for them.
Helen, best wishes on your recovery. And I guess you're going to enjoy some tennis while you're in Toronto as well. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Helen Kellecy, who has been known to put a few forehands past Leif Pettersson in her day.
We have played somewhat, and Hurricane Helen will fight her problems as she fought everybody else in the tennis court, and she's a winner.
Here's the gizmo from the 15-yard line, and he gets out to about the 38, a 23-yard kickoff return. Well, the Edmonton Eskimos see Mike Saunders wide open through the middle. He goes 27 yards for the touchdown as Toronto goes 4 plays and 56 yards after the 2-yard punt by Edmonton's Sean Fleming.
Gord, you and I talked in the opening about Doug Flutie maybe having to incorporate a few more people into the offense, and he's done that. Mike Saunders has caught a touchdown in 2 passes. Paul Mazzotti's caught a touchdown in the first quarter tonight. So I think slowly we're seeing an indication that Doug Flutie wants to have everybody involved and a little bit more than he has in the past.
First down, Danny McManus quickly over the middle. Darren Flutie has his first catch of the game, and Flutie fighting his way out to the 44-yard line. And what a week Darren Flutie had last week. 15 catches against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for 231 yards and 2 touchdowns, tied George McGowan's club record and only 1 off the CFL record held by Terry Greer and Brian Wiggins.
Yeah, it's quite a game. You must be coming from Edmonton. You must remember George McGowan.
Oh, yeah, number 76.
He was a terrific receiver, and I'm almost glad that he didn't break George's record, that he just tied it.
Now McManus up and throwing. That is incomplete, and McManus had all kinds of problems there. Rob Waldrop and Andrew Stewart were all over him, and Edmonton will once again be forced to punt.
Well, one of the things you love about Toronto's defense, you get Rob Waldrop on the nose and Andrew Stewart. I mean, these guys come hard every single play, and they're rewarded. They beat the blocks, and they get the pressure on Danny McManus.
Well, I'll tell you what, Andrew Stewart's having some kind of day, stuffing the run and getting in on the passer. And this Toronto defense forces Edmonton once again to punt, and Sean Fleming's adventures continue. punts of 6 and 2 yards.
He's just happy to get that one away.
Pinball from the 35. Flags are down, and so is Mike Clements as he gets out to the 43. A 7-yard return of a 30-yard punt. 14-7 the Argos lead with 11 minutes to play in the first half. Well, there's numbers that matter in football, and for a punter, these are the ones. If you're taking more than 2.4 seconds, the punt's blockable, and Sean Fleming's problem earlier in the year was that he wasn't getting the kicks off quickly enough. Now he's getting them off quickly enough. The problem is they're not going far enough, and 2.11, that's not bad, but that was just a 30-yard punt, and that's one of his better ones tonight.
Well, he's certainly in the proper range of what you would like your kicker to do. He's just having a bad night. He's just not doing it very well.
First down from the 30-yard line. Flutie up quickly, has Robert Drummond. Drummond, who lined up a wide receiver, gets his legs cut out by Malcolm Frank as he gets out to the 38-yard line. The Argo playbook has got to be the thickness of the phone book, Leaf. I mean, they got so many looks, formations, and different little passes, you name it.
Well, they really do, and they give the defenses a lot of different formations to look at, and it's not formations just for the sake of throwing them out there. They all have a purpose, and you'll see Robert Drummond lined up as a wide receiver as he was, and the purpose is to get that matchup. You know, you waste a corner on a running back. In his case, with his speed, that's not such a bad waste, but I mean, everything's done for a reason in Toronto.
2nd and 3. They fake to Drummond. Flutie takes off outside. Hits the pinball. A flag comes down as pinball gets up to the 40-yard line. Now, Malcolm Frank was the man who was there with Mazzotti, and it appears the flag is on him. If Edmonton, or if Toronto rather, declines the penalty, that's the record for pinball, but it's not a first down. So it looks like they'll take the penalty, and pinball will have to wait.
Well, Paul Mazzotti got mugged downfield by Malcolm Frank.
How come you always notice when a receiver gets mugged, but you never notice it when a defensive guy gets mugged?
Who cares?
Because that should happen, right? Here's the call.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver, Edmonton number 10. First down.
And we've got a great look at it here. I mean, this is above and beyond. Here's Malcolm Frank right there, and watch his treatment of Paul Mazzotti. This is illegal.
Hey, ref, you can't do that. The only thing he didn't do was hit him with the folding chair. So the catch for pinball does not count. He remains tied with Dick Shadow. Dick, you're hanging on, but by your fingernail. Flutie looking back for Drummond. That pass tipped at the line. Looked like Jed Roberts got a piece of it. And you can see Doug Flutie saying that.
Well, he just tried to feather it over the top of Jed Roberts, and you'll see Roberts right in the middle of your screen, and he just seems to get a hand on it as Flutie goes to throw out to the flat. 43 is Jed Roberts. Watch his right hand right now. That's a good effort by him. That's a pass you don't want to throw on a rope, you know, but Flutie couldn't really afford to loft it any higher.
Now 2nd down Toronto, and Flutie in the shotgun. Flags everywhere, and I do mean everywhere. I think every guy threw his flag. And now some pushing and shoving breaks out as Malvin Hunter gets into it with a couple of the Argos. Procedure is the call against Toronto.
Procedure, Toronto number 63. Repeat 2nd down.
The center. You almost never see that.
Well, the only thing you can say, here's the center, Mike Kiselak. I mean, does he bob his head or does he move before?
Oh, kind of double clutched.
He did kind of double clutch that one. That's an excellent call. Tough for a center to have procedure called against him, but Mike found a way.
Very unusual. He also has a catch this year,
yes,
which is unusual for a center. 2nd down, Flutie, lots of time. He'll step up and throws it over the head of Clemens, who was well covered by Tommy Henry, and now Toronto will be forced to punt.
Well, for a defensive team that does not like to allow receivers to run crossing patterns and get into the middle of their coverage, they're sure letting a lot of Toronto receivers get in there. Now, Flutie didn't complete that pass, but Tommy Henry and his teammates are certainly letting Toronto do what they want to do and operate in a particular area of that secondary that they like to week after week, and that is the middle.
Mike Vanderjagt back to kick, was watching Henry Williams catch punts in the pregame warm-up. Says, I don't know why he's doing that. I ain't kicking to him. And This time they punted away from the gizmo to Don Blair at the 15-yard line. Adrian Smith gets him quickly, and Don Blair forced out of bounds at the 22-yard line. A 7-yard return. The Argos lead by a touchdown at Skydome. Well, he's the man in the middle, Mike O'Shea, and last week he was the man in the middle of controversy in Calgary. It came early in the game when he hit Jeff Garcia of the Stampeders as he was going out of bounds. O'Shea ejected from the game. The Argos feel that was unjust. O'Shea certainly feeling that way, and no further action taken by the Canadian Football League. O'Shea just glad to have it behind him. First down, the toss goes to Eric Blunt, and Blunt has been stuffed by Toronto so far. Gets out to the 25-yard line, and guess who got there to make the stop? Mike O'Shea.
They did a nice job flowing down the line of scrimmage to make the play, did Mike O'Shea, and I thought he got a bit of a bum rap a week ago when he was thrown out of that game, and you know, if Jeff Garcia had not hit the bench, maybe that wouldn't have been called. And talking to Don Matthews, his reaction was, he said, "We have no reaction. We feel that the play did not warrant an ejection. We have not told our players anything other than to continue to play the way they played." And I think that says it all.
Second down, McManus from the shotgun. He's got Robert Gordon, and Gordon has a first down out to the 37-yard line. Johnny Harris working on Gordon, who has the catch and the first down.
It's pretty good trips route here. It's a combination of what they like to do. Here's Bobby Gordon. Clear out, and then run him here. The interesting thing to note is number 19, Don Smith in the corner. With that broken arm, he used to be a punishing hitter. He kind of just flagged him there because I think that arm's bothering him.
On first down, McManus, quick drop, quick throw, Tony Burst, and he's got a man all over him. Ken Benson was not going to let Tony Burst do anything. And as a result, the gain is a couple, and Edmonton's lucky to get that much.
Ken Benson just does a heck of a job to the outside. This is a tough play to cover the back coming out of the backfield, but it shows you the speed of the Toronto linebacking core, that Benson can get out there and get on burst so quickly. You know, we looked at Saskatchewan last week on Friday Night Football with Katie Williams and that whole crew of LeBar McGriggs, you know, terrific linebackers. But Toronto, they've got just as much speed as anybody.
Second down, McManus over the middle, and that was almost intercepted by Lester Smith, and now a flag down. The pass was intended for Eric Blunt, but Smith was in a better position to catch the ball.
And this is a matchup that Toronto has to like. Lester Smith, who was originally a corner some years ago, against Eric Blunt, the running back, and I think Lester Smith can cover him all day.
Forward pass interference, Toronto number 30. First down.
But the call is pass interference on Toronto's number 30, which is interesting because Toronto doesn't have a number 30. So who do you think it's on, Leaf?
Well, I think it's on Lester Smith, and you know, they just decided he's going to be 30 instead of 36, and maybe that's why he had
hey, you know what?
He arrived a little early.
If I'm Lester Smith, I say it wasn't me. Robert Gordon with the catch again underneath, and oh, he takes a shot at the end of that play from Donald Smith, and the punishing one shows he can still punish.
Well, it's funny, you know, I thought with that cast that might be bothering his aggressiveness, but obviously not. He just missed on the other play because he doesn't miss here.
He just used his helmet this time instead of his arm.
That's probably a wise thing to do. And you know, when receivers like Bobby Gordon come across the field, as a defense, you've just got to make them pay the price and try to dampen their enthusiasm.
First down, flags are down. McManus to the corner, looking for the new man, Shannon Myers, who had it for a moment and then couldn't hang on. He was being watched there, and watched well by Adrian Smith. And the flag is offside. Toronto's, the Eskimos, had a free play there.
Well, nevertheless, it was terrific coverage by Adrian Smith.
Offside, Toronto number 7.
Johnny Harris on the halfback blitz was offside.
Well, and Shannon Myers, here he is at the top, and watch him on Adrian Smith. Watch Smith, the technique. Looks in. Now he's focused on the receiver. He's beaten right here, but watch the acceleration and the layout to make that play. I mean, although it doesn't factor because of the offside, that is terrific defense.
Good drive for the Eskimos. Continues from the 41. McManus on first down. Quick throw. Robert Gordon has the catch and gets down to the 25-yard line. The Pro Football Hall of Fame and Museum will not be asking for a videotape of that pass, but it got there.
This is great read by Bobby Gordon. They get the guy out in the flat, but watch how he reads the zone and gets right in the middle between Johnny Harris and the linebacker. See, he's reading zone right now. Stop in the open spot. See how he stops? He doesn't keep running. He creates a good target for McManus to find him. That's a heck of a read by a slot back.
On an ugly throw by Danny McManus. That was an end-over-end pass.
Didn't matter. He got it into the hole.
Now McManus looking for Myers, and that pass incomplete. And I'll tell you what, for a guy playing in his first game, Shannon Myers getting all kinds of work. He's from Lenoir Rhine College. Me neither.
North Carolina.
Yeah, right. It's actually just at the North Carolina-Tennessee border, apparently.
Well,
Ron Lancaster knows where it is.
I know where it is. This guy's got some courage, though. I told you the story earlier. He had part of his kidney surgically removed after taking an elbow there in a preseason game with the Miami Dolphins, and he's fought his way back. And you know, Ron Lancaster was really interested to see him play, and was hoping that he could do a good job. And he's a gamer so far.
Second down, they're looking there for Tony Burrs, but Shannon Myers jumps in and makes the catch. Now, I think that pass was to Tony Burrs, and Myers just ran across and got it.
Well, it may be. I mean, here's Burrs here, and here's Myers, of course, at the top. You check it out. I mean, it's tough to tell where McManus is going. I think he's going to Tony Burrs. You're absolutely right.
I think Shannon Myers just stole that from him.
No, you're dead on, Gord. Good call, because, but to Myers' credit, he's showing aggressiveness to go to the football. How can you criticize that?
Now Blunt to throw. Can't find anyone open. He's dropped by Ken Benson. There's a flag down in the end zone. Darren Flutie was in the end zone. So was Don Blair. It's the option pass for Eric Blunt, which has been successful before, and it is contact against Toronto.
Well, Eric Blunt has a terrific record throwing the football this year. He's thrown one pass and he's thrown one touchdown pass.
Toronto number 7. First down.
Toronto does have a number 7. It's Johnny Harris on Darren Flutie. Let's have a look.
Well, you get a terrific look at it. No, that's interference. No question. No question.
And the call was contact, to be fair, not pass interference. So now Edmonton will have the ball at the 5. First and goal. Here's Blunt. Down he gets to the 1. First arguing that he got in, but it'll be second and goal from the 1. And this is where Toronto got stopped in the first quarter.
And the defensive player to watch on these kinds of plays on the goal line is 50 Mike O'Shea and Eric Johnson 27 in the middle. They close. O'Shea just can't get off the block enough of number 62 Derek Scholdice.
And it looked like the ball did break the plane of the goal line as Blunt just kind of reached his arm out to get it over there. Now it's second and goal from the 1-yard line, and Willie Pless comes out to play on the offense, number 39, and he's got a couple of touchdowns this year. It'll bring up third and goal from the 1, and it comes at the 3-minute warning. So Lancaster and company will talk it over. This is where the Argos stalled earlier. When we come back, Edmonton with a chance to tie. Mike O'Shea and the Argos digging in on third and goal from the 1 after watching the Edmonton defense turn Toronto away earlier. This is the 13th play of the drive. Away on third and goal. It looked like there might have been early movement, but the Argos stuffed the Edmonton Eskimos just as the Eskimos did to them earlier.
Watch to the right side of the Toronto Argonaut defensive line, the right side of your screen. John Raposo 61, Cantor 51. They get underneath the offensive line of Edmonton. That allows the linebackers to come over the top and make the play, and that is a heck of a hit. It's tough to see who it was.
Looked like Waldrop was the guy who jumped. What a play by the Toronto Argonaut defense. And Leaf, It's rare enough to see teams stopped on a 3rd and a yard in a league where you have to give a yard. How about twice in one game?
Well, it was Demetrius Maxey that made the tackle, but the penetration was key.
Now Flutie to Mike Clemens, who's got the catch up to the 15-yard line, and that is the team record for the pinball. Mike Clemens with his 467th career catch.
And he knows it. He's keeping the ball.
And that'll go on an already crowded mantelpiece. He becomes the Argos' all-time leader in catches.
And he's being acknowledged on the Jumbotron here in Toronto, and I think you can hear the crowd with their response to this. Mike Clemens, the all-time leader in receptions. And that's a nice clean play to do it on, too.
And you know what? I'm sure he's very glad it got his team a first down in a key situation. And now his teammates congratulate him. The Canadian Football League's most valuable player back in 1990. A guy who was not elected to the CFL All-Star team last year despite 116 catches to lead the league by 30, and they're standing at Skydome. And now the Argos will go back to work.
And don't lose sight of the fact that not only was that a great catch to set the record, I mean, that's a great catch to get Toronto out of deep trouble on their own 1-yard line.
2.5 minutes to play in the first half. Flutie from the shotgun. Sidearms it out there. Picked off by Glenn Rogers. His second of the game. Flutie saved a touchdown, forcing him out of bounds at the 8. But Glenn Rogers Jr., with his 5th interception of the season, has given the Edmonton Eskimos a great chance to tie this football game.
And tough to tell who Doug Flutie was looking at. It might have been Mike Saunders, the slot back, as he cuts to the outside, and Glenn Rogers just picks his pocket. Probably a ball that Doug Flutie would certainly like to have back again. Not the greatest of judgments, but when you're a quarterback that continually tries to make things happen, sometimes you live by the sword and die by the sword.
5 interceptions now on the year for Glenn Rogers. He's tied for the league lead with Orlando Steinauer of the Hamilton Ticats.
Well, you certainly have to be impressed on his ability to break on the football, and then his other interception was on the long bomb tonight, so he's done it in all kinds of ways.
First and goal from the 8. McManus under pressure to the end zone. Touchdown! Shannon Myers in his first Canadian Football League game has his first CFL touchdown. And Don Blair saying, I had to wait 1.5 years to get mine.
And as impressive as anything was his ability to fight and get inside position on Adrian Smith, a very crafty and physical corner. But Shannon Myers has really shown his ability to want to go after the football in an aggressive manner. He does it right here with Smith all over his back. And I mean, that is nothing more than desire to want to get open and to want to make a play in your first game in the CFL.
Shannon's mom is here, and she'll get the football. And a kiss. How many guys get a kiss during the game?
Not all bad.
How about that? He got a touchdown, he got the ball, and he got a kiss.
Wow, he sure worked hard to get open, and you love to see that. I mean, I'm sitting up here watching a young receiver who shows aggressiveness, good hands, and don't think the quarterbacks don't appreciate that, and don't think the quarterbacks aren't going to give him a lot of footballs when he makes that kind of effort.
You know what's interesting, Leaf, is that Ron Lancaster was saying before the game that very unusual in a league where you're only allowed 5 guys in the practice roster that you would keep a wide receiver, but he said in training camp this guy was just too good to let go, and Shannon Myers in his first game has the touchdown.
Well, I think the impressive thing to me is he sets Smith up like out to the outside and then fights so hard to get that position. He's got to go to the post. That's what the pattern calls for, a little push. But watch him, he digs, he leans into Smith to keep him off his back, and well, I tell you, I'm impressed.
Yeah, that's for you, man. Wish you were here. That's for you, man.
Hey, he's got his touchdown wrap all down. Here's the pinball from the 5. That took some of the luster out of his record-setting accomplishment as the next pass was intercepted, and now Toronto will have the ball back at the 20 in a tie game. What a moment for this young guy. He finds out this week that Eddie Brown, a CFL star, couldn't play. His mom gets the ball after the touchdown, and hey, what a great night for him. He'll never forget this one. Now, the question.
I got a tear in my eye right now.
Is he taping the game?
We'll give him a tape.
What a nice moment that is.
You know what I like is you come into a game like this, the Grey Cup rematch and all the hype, and this game has lived up to all the pregame hype. It's been a dandy.
Tied at 14. Flutie from the shotgun takes off on the quarterback draw. And Flutie slides down to the 34-yard line. He should have a first down. Flutie has been really shaking off a foot injury all year long, and said before the game he's actually wearing low-cut shoes for the first time this year. He feels the foot doesn't necessarily need that much support, but you know what? His year projects out rushing to pretty close to a 1,000-yard season.
Well, he may do it. I don't really think it's a focus for him to do that. If it happens, he'd certainly welcome it, but I don't think that he's intent on getting 1,000. You mentioned the low-cut shoes that he's wearing for the first time tonight. There is 2:03 remaining in this second quarter, and I don't think Doug Flutie would like anything more than to go into this locker room at halftime with a lead, as they're tied at 14 right now.
He was just shy of a first down, sliding inches short. It'll be second and inches, and if you feel like going deep, this is the time.
Well, it's either that or quarterback sneak, because there's nobody in the backfield.
Flutie goes straight ahead. There was no other eligible receiver within 50 yards of him, so number 2 calls his own number and has the first down with 1:47 to play in the first half.
And as he is so good at, he's going to get his team up. He's calling the play before the line of scrimmage, and there you see it. Hey, there's nobody there. For a defense, it's pretty easy. One of two things, and Willie Pless is looking for him. He just can't get there quick enough.
First down, Toronto from the 35-yard line. Flutie back in the shotgun. Has time, has a man over the middle, and Daryl Mitchell sticks his nose in again and makes the catch up to the 50-yard line for a Toronto first down.
And this is a great catch by Daryl Mitchell. Boy, we're seeing some terrific individual efforts here, because he knows he's going to get drilled right now, but he's willing to take the hit from Trent Brown to keep this 2-minute drill going.
Clock running at 1:20.
Some players tonight are really willing to pay the price for their teams, and it's fun to watch.
Flutie from the shotgun. Lots of time, but now he's flushed, and he is in trouble. I mean, capital T trouble. Sidearms it, and the closest man to it was Willie Pless. The pass was loosely intended for Mike Clemens.
But Doug Seller, number 94, is going to come from the left of your screen. He takes the inside position on Willie Williams and beats him. It's Mike Sellers, rather, and he first flushes Flutie out. Now, a lot of teams, you don't want to flush a quarterback out, and Doug Flutie's one of them. But to their credit, Willie Pless and the rest of the defensive secondary did a nice job, and Flutie, I think, was just looking for an open place to put that football.
And we would like to say hello to Doug Sellers, who's the executive producer of sports for another network.
He's a tackle, too, isn't he?
I'm not sure. I don't think he's that big. Second down from the 50. Flutie winging out there, and that time Mitchell went up, and the ball went out, and Malcolm Frank was the only man anywhere near it. And Frank, too, has the cast on the right hand, and DB's all over the place playing with the baseball bats on their hands.
Well, there's some terrific plays on both sides. I mean, you know, Doug Flutie there's getting the pressure. He has to throw the ball to a spot that he hopes his receiver will end up at. Daryl Mitchell didn't make it that far, but you know, just when you think one of the offense has some terrific momentum, the defense tightens up. Boy, Mike Vanderjagt, you look at him, he's got a terrific average at 46.0, but he nets 40 yards on every punt, and that is the statistic that impresses me the most. That leads the league, and that's the one that the coaches look at.
This is the Gizmo from the 8-yard line, just his second punt return of the game, and he is collared right down to the 5-yard line. Great work on the special teams for Toronto by Eric Johnson, number 27, a 52-yard punt and a loss of 2. And look who comes in at quarterback for the Edmonton Eskimos with 46 seconds left. It's Jimmy Kemp in place of Danny McManus. And McManus is up on the sidelines and is not receiving attention from the training staff, so it's hard to know what's happened to him, and we'll try to get a report for you as soon as we can. Jimmy Kemp has thrown 13 passes this year. His first pass of the season was intercepted. Nice way to start the year.
It looks as though, and I'm watching Danny McManus on the sidelines, and he's talking to the trainers, and he just doesn't look right. I mean, there's no logical explanation to make a quarterbacking switch at this stage, but there's something about McManus that just doesn't look normal. He's kind of bending over a little bit.
The give goes off to Eric Blunt, and a long way for Blunt to run for not much gain. He gets out to about the 8-yard line, and yeah, McManus just looks like he's
maybe he's maybe just not feeling too well. Sick. He's bent over because I don't think there's any normal reason why you would take him out. He's played well.
And 2 touchdown passes already in this game, coming off a performance last week. That's the kind of thing you'd envy in the Canadian Football League. 3rd best in Edmonton Eskimo history. And coming up live at the half, that looks like a police lineup, doesn't it? Marty and Les and Rod and Obi and company, and I'll look ahead to an interesting week 8. We've got a good Friday night game for you this week. BC at Saskatchewan tomorrow night.
A lot of coaches creeping into that studio right now.
I noticed that.
I don't know. Think Obi's upset about that, having another coach there beside him?
I think he'd handle him.
They can talk coach talk now.
Obi was in Sports Illustrated this week.
For what?
I'll explain in a minute. 2nd down, Kim to throw, waits, and gets clubbed as he does it. Eric Johnson got him right at the goal line, and it falls incomplete. You want to know what Obi was in Sports Illustrated for?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
For cutting Sam Mills, who has gone on to a 12-year career in the NFL and may go to the Hall of Fame.
So that's not a good reason to be in Sports Illustrated.
Well, yeah, probably not.
I maintain anytime your name is in there, that's good.
Yeah, sure. So, they spelled it right.
Ken Benson coming from the outside, and then as Kemp comes up the middle, he is just sandbagged back there. And, you know, there's still 36 seconds remaining.
And
Fleming has not had a good...
Fleming from the end zone lead was really a problem earlier.
Toronto has 11 people up on the line of scrimmage.
Fleming gets it away, but it's a bad punt.
Mercy.
A very poor punt by Sean Fleming. And they'll mark it out inside the 30-yard line, it would appear. In fact, right at the 30-yard line. So the punt travels just 23 yards. He's got 1 of 2, 1 of 7, 1 of 23, and 1 of 30 in this game.
And I think he's just mentally he's just not having a good night. It's as simple as that, because physically it doesn't seem to be anything wrong with him. He comes into this game with a 38-yard punting average, which is not strong to begin with, but his average is taking a beating tonight.
And now with 28 seconds left in the half, great field position for Toronto, already in field goal range. Flutie, not thinking field goal, goes to Mazzani down to the 20-yard line, be very close to a Toronto first down.
And this is where you really have to watch Doug Flutie. How quickly can he get the ball into play and not lose any time on the clock? There's 23 seconds remaining. Let's see how quickly he can get it snapped, the play called, and not lose any time.
And this may require a measurement, which is a break for the Argos.
Absolutely.
Now remember, they do also have their timeout remaining, so the Argos can get lots of work done. In 23 seconds, you should be able to run 3, 4 offensive plays.
4.
And kick the field goal.
3 plays and then kick the field goal on the 4th if you have to. So, I mean, now it's clear that they're short. The play should be called 23 seconds. There should be no more than 21 on the clock, honestly, when this ball is snapped, if they're functioning at their highest level.
Paul Mazzani has
maybe
a touchdown
20.
catch in this game, Leaf, and that got him out of an extended slump, and now a big catch which got Toronto close to a first down.
Well, his touchdown catch was a beauty.
They snap it on the 20, quick throw. He's got it up there to Daryl Mitchell, and Mitchell does a good job getting out of bounds, gets the first down, and that play executed in a total of 7 seconds.
And it took 3 seconds to get the ball snapped at 20, so that is functioning at a high level. I mean, Doug Flutie is a master at this. It's fun to watch. He takes it as a personal challenge to 2-minute offense, and he does a great job with it.
Who's the best quarterback you ever saw at the 2-minute offense in this league?
Well, that's a tough one. Lancaster was pretty darn good. Tommy Clements was good. There was Warren Moon was good. I mean, there was a bunch. Dieter Brock was good.
Flutie on first down. To the end zone he goes. Saunders, and in and out of his hands, incomplete.
He worked so hard to get open. He ran an out. He pivoted back to the inside. Watch his effort here. He does a terrific job to try and get open. Here is Mike Saunders up here. Watch him. He'll end up coming back underneath. He works so darn hard. There it is right there. Great move on Glenn Rogers. Lays out and can't squeeze it.
And Flutie thought he had 6.
Well, I mean, you can't run a pattern any better than that. I mean, against Glenn Rogers, who has 2 picks tonight, he turned them inside out.
2nd and 10, Flutie quarterback draw. Edmonton smelled it, and it goes nowhere. Maurice Miller got there for Edmonton, along with Malvin Hunter. It'll bring up 3rd down, and the Argos will now try for 3 with 6 seconds left.
And really, you have to look back again to the poor effort of Sean Fleming that essentially is giving Argonauts probably 3 points to close out this half, and they'll go in at halftime probably leading. Well, they will lead this football game unless it's blocked.
Vanderjagt's field goal try will come from the 21-yard line. Vanderjagt having a pretty solid year, 12 of 17 on the season.
Although he'd like his percentage, that 70%, to be a little higher, he still is kicking smooth as silk. Watch him here. Nice smooth stroke and absolutely dead letter perfect.
And pretty good for a guy who didn't get the practice yesterday. The goalposts weren't up here at Skydome with the baseball game last night, so he aimed at the foul pole.
Probably hit it.
Now he figures if they ever play a game where you have to hit the foul pole, he'll win hands down.
Yeah, well, if they change that rule, I'm drafting him.
The Argos actually having a lot of fun at practice yesterday with the baseball diamond in. They were taking batting practice, and on the other side, the kicker not having nearly as much fun. And why, you ask? Well, here are the last 4 punts: 23, 32, and 10.
And I can hear Bob Obilovich now. Those special teams are killing the Eskimos.
Yeah, you gotta have those guys on special teams, although I did cut Sam Mills.
So the difference in the game thus far is the Vanderjagt field goal. Danny McManus may be shaken up. It's 17-14 Toronto. Lots to talk about in a great football game, but right now, stand by for CFL Live at the Half.
Thank you very much, Gordon Leaf. And I should tell you, Obi is working on his impressions of you as we speak, so be on the lookout. Yeah, hey, they leave off right where they were in November. No snow in the field, but excellent close football game right now. The Argos heading with the lead at the locker room at the half. But, Obi, in this one, Eddie Brown gone from the game, one of the key injuries for Edmonton. But the Eskimos offense did a nice job with the addition of Shannon Myers.
They did do a good job, but to answer Leaf and Gord, one thing I want to say about special teams, if you've never been there before, then you won't be able to appreciate how important it is, and that's why the comments are made as they are. Because you can see why championships are won by special teams, and that's what's shown today.
Defense, coach.
But now, getting back to the offense, the thing that's impressed me about Edmonton is Shannon Myers is doing a heck of a job as a wideout, but they did a smart thing moving Bobby Gordon inside the slot to make up for Eddie Brown not being there, and Bobby's an excellent slot.
Well, we talked about special teams. What's going on with Sean Fleming? We're kind of beating a dead horse here. I'm sure he knows he's having a bad night, and there's not much you can do, but it certainly is, I think you could say that Edmonton would be in the lead at this point if it wasn't.
Well, I think Edmonton is completely controlling this game. If it wasn't for Sean Fleming, and they got all their 3 points or touchdowns, 3 scores, came off of Sean Fleming's punts, or the one that he shouldn't punt it in the end zone. So I think if they wanted to line up in a punt situation next time, abandon it, line up in a field goal situation, and he'll kick it a lot further down the field than the punts he has so far.
Les, I still question Edmonton for cutting Glenn Harper at the beginning of the season. He was a more than adequate punter. There was no real reason other than to save a roster spot to put Fleming in as a punter. He's obviously having trouble with that, and that's going to hurt Edmonton in the long run. It's too good a team to allow that kind of guy.
But it's a big reason.
That's kind of hindsight too, Marty, because Fleming they've been bringing along for 3 years to a point where they thought he was ready to do it. Sean Fleming wanted to do both.
Well, he can't do it, though, Bob.
Well, he's having problems tonight,
Obviously.
No problem.
Hey, Marty, they point out Obi cutting Sam Mills. Obi did not cut Mike Pinball Clements back in 1989, and look what he's gone on to do, and a nice moment tonight
Yeah, I think we should stop and pay tribute to this guy, because not only is he a terrific player on the field, but he's a great ambassador for the CFL, probably the most popular player in Argo history. And I thought the Argos really blew it tonight because they didn't have the foresight to call the league in advance and arrange to have the game stopped so that they can make a presentation to Pinball after he set the receiving record. They could have asked for that, and I think they really had an opportunity to do some good marketing and didn't do it.
That was one of the big plays in that half. Mike Pinball Clements, catch number 467 for the record. Another big incident. Danny McManus going down with an injury. Here's Gino Retta now with Eskimos coach Ron Lancaster.
Coach Lancaster, of course, the obvious question is how bad is it? And it looks like the shoulder injury to Danny McManus.
I really don't know. They said they'd check it at halftime, but they said they should keep him out till the end. They have a chance to check it. Other than that, I don't know. He just took a hit on the touchdown pass.
Was it a helmet or was it contact with the ground?
I think it was probably contact on the ground, because we didn't block anybody, so it must have been hitting the ground.
One of the problems that you've been having so far in the first half is Sean Fleming's kicking.
Our kicking game's terrible. I mean, you got to catch the ball when it's kicked, and you got to kick the football when you're supposed to, and you give them two. These are things that we practice, and then we're smarter than that, and I don't understand it. We'll straighten it out. That has been a tough half on us. We are a little bit better than that.
On a positive note, what about that rookie receiver? Myers has been outstanding in the first half.
Well, I'll tell you, we've had him since training camp. He's a young receiver, and then, we thought he was pretty good, and we've been waiting to get him into a football game. This has been the first opportunity, but, when you miss Eddie Brown out of the lineup, that's a lot too. But, hey, he's getting a chance to play, and he's showing he can play.
Coach, good luck the rest of the way.
You bet.
Thank you, Gino. And Ron Lancaster with some reasons to be frustrated. His team, of course, right in it, just down by 3 at the half. Coming up, we'll have a preview of the rest of Week 8. CFL Live.
We're gonna kick back, relax, watching football on a Friday night. It's Friday.
Yes, it is. Les Brown. Yes, he's a coach, but he can sing. BC Lions, Saskatchewan Roughriders. OBU can sing as well, just not on the air. Two teams at 4-3, tied for second spot in the CFL West, and quite interested, of course, in tonight's outcome. Well, also, coming up on the weekend, we've got the Hamilton Tiger Cats against the Montreal Alouettes. A big game for Hamilton, and it will mark the debut of Urban Bowman as the head coach after Don Sutherland was fired when they lost to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, sitting at 1-6. They've got to take on a team that's on the move again after beating BC in Vancouver. And Urban Bowman says, yeah, that's just a wonderful place to start.
Oh, Lord, have mercy on us. You're like my wife. She said, have you looked at that schedule? You know who you have to play next? I said, yes, Montreal, and they got one of the best running games in the world, and that's one thing. But you never discount Tracy Hand. Right. Tracy can make things happen where they wouldn't happen before.
There's some big guys up front. They always give us a good hard upfield push, and they have some pretty quick guys in the end, and Ilford Payton. So they're going to come with some pressure, and they're a little bit they're hurting in the linebacker position right now, but we'll see what happens.
They play a lot of man. They play some zero. I think they looked at film of us in the past. I think they're going to stack everybody up on the line, and they're going to try to bring pressure and get to the quarterback like everybody else has been doing. But I think we've improved in that area, and hopefully if we can execute and block them, we'll make them get out of that blitz technique.
And Urban Bowman told our Marty York, by the way, expects to win more than lose the rest of the way. Calgary Stampeders and Winnipeg Blue Bombers, that is underway at Winnipeg Stadium, just a couple of minutes in. No score. Big game. Well, you could say this all the time for both teams. Winnipeg, can they afford to lose another one? I think not. Calgary on the move, looking to go to 500 after an 0-3 start. Before we chat about that game, first up about the Alouettes getting set for Hamilton, but another little addition for Montreal?
Rod, it's so funny how the CFL works. Last week, Les sat here and suggested that the Montreal Alouettes go out and acquire or reacquire Charles Gordon, one of the better defensive backs in CFL history. And so what happened, they have signed Charlie Gordon, and they're going to announce it, I believe, tomorrow. But he's signed, and he will be playing in the lineup in Montreal on Saturday night. And guess which team he's facing? The one Les Brown just happened to sign on with. Les Brown, you're going to have to face Charles Gordon on Saturday night.
Well, I'm not going to have to face him.
Well, you're a team.
I'm going to be sitting here in the booth watching the game just like you guys. But the reason why Charlie was sitting out for so long is because he had taken the team to a grievance. and he tried to get some money that was owed to him at the end of the year. As you know, Montreal was having financial problems at that time. And I think it hit a little nerve with the management, and they took their sweet time signing him back, but they realized that this guy is valuable to that team.
Well, you're not kidding. Last year he led the team in interceptions, so he's very valuable.
You know what I want to know, now that we got Coach Brown here and he's getting ready, we want some insight on your game plan for the Alouettes this week.
Yeah, spit it out.
Well, actually, we should point out you were a guest coach at training camp with the Montreal Alouettes, so if anyone could provide a few pointers, I would think it's you.
Well, you know,
no comment, right?
I have to abandon the Alouette thing right now, and I'm going to have no comment on anything else.
Okay,
especially game plans.
A quick comment, Obi.
Looking like a true coach now, right?
He's learning. He's learning. Quick comment, though, about Calgary-Winnipeg underway tonight, about that football game.
Well, Calgary's on a roll, and if Alan Pitts is going to be back in the lineup, their receiving core looks stronger than ever, and I think Jeff Garcia is playing as well as any quarterback right now. So Calgary looks awfully strong at this point in time, and if they win, and then tomorrow night when we get the Friday night game between Saskatchewan and BC, they can be tied with one of those guys.
They could. A lot could change certainly in the West Division. If Calgary can come up with a win, we take another break, have a look at the standings in the Canadian Football League heading into Week 8. CFL Live returns after this. Okay, thank you, Teresa. Well, it's 17-14, Argos at the half. Got to head back to Skydome now and look at the numbers. And Gordon Leaf, I'd be worried. Obi's getting awfully good at his impressions on you. We'll unveil it a little later on.
Yeah, you know, I figure we'll lose a lot of sleep over that one, Rod. Let's take a look at the numbers from the first half, brought to you by Dodge Trucks. And in our own voices, we can tell you that a very entertaining opening 30 minutes. You can see 24 first downs between the two teams. Not much to choose in net yards. 3 turnovers, though, by the Argos, including 1 on downs at the goal line. But Sean Fleming's last 4 punts averaging under 20 yards. And Leaf, I got to ask you, Danny McManus hurt. We're told it's his shoulder. It came on the touchdown pass to Shannon Myers. Without him, the Edmonton Eskimos don't appear to have much of a chance in this game.
Well, I think it's going to be very difficult. They're missing Eddie Brown. They're missing Benny Goods. And if Danny McManus, who's been their leader so far through 7 weeks of this season, is not there, sure, it's going to be tough. But, I mean, you have to hope that Jimmy Kemp, if he's going to play, can play well.
The Edmonton Eskimos, who relied on defense last year, will really rely on it now. Well, the second half is still to come in an outstanding football game. But before that, stand by for a CFL Sports Update with Brendan Connor. Back at Skydome in Toronto, the Argonauts with a 17-14 lead on the Edmonton Eskimos. Toronto will open the second half with the football after Mike Vanderjagt's field goal late in the first half gave them the lead. And Sean Fleming, grateful he doesn't have to punt this, will kick off for Edmonton.
That is cruel.
I am cruel and unusual. Lester Smith takes the ball down the 20-yard line, stumbles ahead as he gets out to the 32, tripped up there by Maurice Miller, a 14-yard return. Here are the numbers for the two quarterbacks in the first half, but of course the focus right now is on the injured Danny McManus. And for more on that, here's Gino Retta.
Well, Gord, no one's officially talking just yet, but this much we do know. Danny McManus did not come back out here for the second half just yet. They say he will come out. They're not sure how much he will play. We do know that Jimmy Kemp will start the second half. At this point, we're being told that he got hit in the back of the right shoulder. The McManus got hit in the back of the right shoulder. They're checking it out, and they'll play it by ear.
All right, thank you, Gino. So the Argos now with the ball and the lead begin at the 32-yard line. Flutie up and throwing, has Mazzotti at the 40. And Mazzotti leaps ahead close to the first down up at the 42-yard line. Bruce Dixon is there to make the stop on the Argos senior serviceman. Paul Mazzotti's been with this team longer than any other player on the club, and has 4 catches in this game and a touchdown. And he's survived a few coaching changes. I think he's had 2 tours with Obi, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. And that's survival.
You should get a Purple Heart for that.
But he made a great touchdown catch tonight, and you know, it's been talked in the Toronto media of late that Mazzotti is underused. He came into this game with 25, now has 29 receptions on the season. That's not all bad. He's going to catch his share. I think he has to be patient at this time, and when teams start to maybe try and take away Clemens and Drummond, who have been the focal point, if they're able to do so, I don't think there's any question that Paul Mazzotti is going to see more footballs. But talk about dependable. His touchdown catch tonight was a beauty.
It was a first down for Toronto up at the 42-yard line. Flutie from the shotgun. Over the middle he goes, and incomplete. He was looking there for Andre Kerwin, and the pass falls incomplete. Kerwin, a first-year man out of Stanford, a guy the Argos like, and they bring him in with the extra receiver situation. He was open over the middle, but they couldn't get him the ball.
And it's really been a situation as a rookie for Andre Kerwan. He's had an opportunity to start a couple of games. He's now come in as the 5th receiver in the scheme of things tonight. Dwayne Demtrishan gets to start where he had been sitting for a few weeks. So they're just trying to find the right combination. They're hoping that Kerwan, even though he's a rookie, can somehow emerge and probably be the starting receiver on this team, but it's going to take some time.
Now on second down, Flutie for Daryl Mitchell. Great job there by Edmonton's Derek Beatty to knock the ball out as Mitchell was just waiting for it. But Beatty knocks it down, and Toronto will have to punt.
And Gord, earlier in the game, I talked about Daryl Mitchell, when he runs the hooks, that he doesn't come back to the quarterback. He does it again here. He doesn't come back to the quarterback, and that allows Derek Beatty to close, get the hand in there, and make the play. If Daryl Mitchell works on his hooks and his skills more, he's going to keep that separation, work back to Flutie, and he'll catch those balls. And I think John Jenkins and the other offensive people better have a chat with young Mitchell quickly, because that's not a good pattern.
Vanderjagt to punt, trying to keep it away from the gizmo, but this is Henry Williams from the 23. Williams trying to get outside, chased relentlessly, and a great job by Eric Johnson to get there and make the tackle. A flag came down at the end of the return, a 44-yard punt and a return of 4 yards. And the call is against the Edmonton Eskimos. And Eric Johnson, a guy who was in the news last week as well.
Holding, Edmonton number 8, first down.
Johnson got into a fight in the game against Calgary, and unlike the Mike O'Shea situation, Don Matthews was quick to criticize his players, saying in front of the entire team that that was unacceptable and should not and likely will not happen again.
Yeah, it was a message statement to the rest of the players that that will not be tolerated throughout the course of this season.
And now Jimmy Kemp at quarterback, and the report from the Edmonton bench is that Danny McManus will not return. So it's Kemp's game to finish. The Eskimos start at the 17-yard line. Kemp under pressure. Throws it out there for Robert Gordon, and the pass falls incomplete. On the season, Jimmy Kemp entered this game 6 of 13 passing. No touchdowns and 1 interception. The backup in Saskatchewan last year. And before that, Dave Archer's backup with San Antonio. And of course, his dad is the former Hall of Fame quarterback for the Buffalo Bills and vice presidential candidate Jack Kemp. Just for you political nuts that might be interested in that. He of the dual Kemp ticket that didn't quite perform up to par. Second down, Kemp flush from the pocket. No one to throw to, so Kemp will run. Oh, what a collision, and another. He took 2 vicious shots, the first from Lester Smith right at the sideline, and Jimmy Kemp really paid for getting the first down. If he got it, he's close. Have a listen. Ouch and ouch. That doesn't seem worth it, Leaf.
Doesn't seem worth it, but he got the first down.
Guess it's worth it to him. First down for the 28. Kemp, look out. Collides with his back, Tony Burse, and Burse gets out to the 33-yard line. Lucky to get that far as they almost misfired in the backfield.
And I think you can really see the signs of a quarterback like Jimmy Kemp that probably doesn't get to run with the first team offense too much during the week. His responsibilities would be in practice to run the other team's offense, and you can see a little rust there. Danny McManus making his way back on
with
the field.
His helmet.
Our report was that he wouldn't play, but we certainly will check on that further.
Second down. Kemp sidearms it there for Don Blair. Don Smith has him. A flag comes down. And Don Blair close to another first down. And look at the right arm of Danny McManus, and hanging there like he's not able to move very well. And that is, of course, his throwing arm. McManus does bring the helmet out with him, which makes you wonder.
I think he's got a muscle stimulator that is wired into his shoulder right now. You can see the wire hanging down outside the sleeve of his
Offside, Toronto number 92. Penalty is declined. First down.
I just thought he had one of those personal stereos with him. I guess not at this point.
I don't think so. It's a muscle stimulator trying to get the blood flow going through the shoulder area. It's tough to see. If you can move the camera down just a little farther, you'll see it on his right shoulder.
So McManus looks on from the sidelines while Jimmy Kemp goes to work with a first down. Kemp, quick drop. Swinging it there and has Darren Flutie. And Flutie out to the 50-yard line with just his second catch of the game and has another Edmonton Eskimo first down. A workmanlike drive being put together by Jimmy Kemp.
A nice job to keep Johnny Harris off his back. He gets the position there and keeps working back to the quarterback, unlike Daryl Mitchell for the Argonauts did a few plays ago. And well, that's the difference of a receiver who's worked on his technique over the years. And Darren Flutie is without a doubt technically as good as there is in this league.
First down. Kemp, another quick drop, and that time Eric Blunt got whacked by Lester Smith. You talk about all the physical safeties in the Canadian Football League. Lester Smith might rank at the top of that list.
And Lester Smith has done a terrific job in blitz coverage tonight, coming up and taking the number 3 receiver for Edmonton. It seems like every time they want to throw a hot pattern to their back, number 36 is there just as the ball arrives. He had one interference penalty earlier that was close, but Lester Smith has done a terrific job tonight in blitz coverage, coming up man-to-man and forcing the issue.
On second down, Kemp. Over the middle he goes again. Darren Flutie, and Flutie, who needed the 50 for the first down, gets to about the 52-yard line. That'll bring up third and a long couple for the Eskimos.
And to Jimmy Kemp's credit, he's calling the right plays against blitz coverage. Toronto bringing 7 people that time, and that's a tough assignment for Johnny Harris to chase Flutie across the field, but he just does a terrific job, as all the Toronto defensive backs have done tonight in their pass coverage. They've blitzed far more than they traditionally do, and when you do that, you're asking your defensive backs to come up and play some tight coverage, and they certainly have been equal to the challenge. Don Smith, the only kind of blip in that when he let Don Blair get in behind him, but other than that, this has been rock solid coverage.
Ron Lancaster said at halftime, our kicking game has been terrible. And now Fleming with a kick that takes not a bad bounce, goes out of bounds at the 18-yard line, but just a 34-yard punt for Fleming. Toronto with a 3-point lead on Edmonton. Back in Toronto, where the Argonauts coming off a loss, rare enough for them. I asked Don Matthews yesterday if he was concerned about losing 2 in a row. He said, very simple, we have a team policy. We don't lose 2 in a row. The last time a team coached by Matthews lost 2 games in a row was 1995. That Baltimore team won the Grey Cup. Now, it should be noted they were in Calgary and then 6 days later played Memphis, so travel might have played a role in that. So Matthews hasn't lost 2 in a row since 95. Doug Flutie hasn't lost 2 games in a row in the regular season since 1992, and Matthews says simply, we don't allow it.
No, and the games that he lost in Calgary and then back in Baltimore, that was also a Western swing they did where they played in Edmonton before the Calgary game, won that game, but I mean, that was a tough trip.
That's a tough team policy.
I'll tell you what, you ask him one of those questions, does he know the answer?
Yeah,
he remembers everything.
Argo started the 18-yard line. Direct snap to Robert Drummond. Drummond trying to go outside. Bruce Dixon flushed him out. Malcolm Frank gets up to help make the stop, along with Glenn Rogers. Well, the injuries mounting up for the Edmonton Eskimos. Remember, they started this game without Eddie Brown and Benny Goods. Danny McManus is hurt, and now Darren Flutie has a sore left leg. He's trying to walk it off, and that's bad news for Edmonton because Darren Flutie is their backup quarterback right now.
The emergency guy.
Yeah, the real emergency guy. So that might mean that backup safety Chris Hardy, who was a quarterback in college, would become their backup quarterback. Now Flutie on second down. Slings it up for the pinball. Mike Clemens has a first down up to the 31-yard line, closely covered, but a well-thrown ball as Tommy Henry was there to make the stop.
Well, you wonder why Mike Kiselak is an all-star center every year. Watch this. Willie Williams gets beaten to the inside, but who's here to help him out? Mike Kiselak, because nobody's over him. He's just looking, but Williams gets beaten, but Kiselak's there with the block, and they get the completion. Those are the little things you don't see all the time, but a reason why he's an all-Canadian.
First down from the 30. Flutie in the shotgun. And Flutie will take off. He's got the first down and slides out of bounds up at the 44-yard line. So Flutie takes off and has a pickup of 14 yards.
And it's a good call for Doug Flutie to run. They know that 90% of the time, Edmonton is in man-to-man of some sort of coverage. And that is a good kind of secondary coverage to run for a quarterback. I mean, you've got defensive backs chasing receivers all over the field. They really don't even see the quarterback when he approaches that line of scrimmage. And you may see Flutie do that a few more times in the second half.
After the 14-yard run, Flutie back in the shotgun. Lots of time for Flutie. Now back over the middle he goes. Dwayne Dimitrition has his first catch of the game. And Dimitrition gets his legs cut out at the 49-yard line. Good work there by Malcolm Frank. And Dwayne Dimitrition, the Maytag repairman of this Toronto offense. The guy with just 7 catches now on the year.
And Leroy Blue, the fine rush end, is getting closer and closer to getting a sack on Doug Flutie. Didn't quite get it there, but he's getting close.
He just hopes he gets there before the game ends.
A lot of guys have said that.
Yeah, I was so close and then the game ended.
That's right.
Second and 5. Flutie for Mazzotti, and the pass out of his reach. Flutie looking for Mazzotti again, but he was off stride, being covered by Bruce Dixon, a matchup the Argos would like.
And that's the formation to create that kind of mismatch, the way Edmonton likes to play defense. Bruce Dixon, a lot of times, the middle linebacker has to take the third receiver in. So that formation created a mismatch in favor of the Argonauts. They just couldn't hit it. Well, you talk about big shoes to fill. Bruce Dixon for Larry Ruck. Some notable changes on this defense from a year ago, and it's really Tommy Henry for Singor Mobley and Bruce Dixon for Larry Ruck. So there are some changes, but they've adapted pretty well.
Vanderjagt trying to kick it away from the gizmo, but Henry Williams has it at the 16-yard line, and he has nothing. Mike O'Shea was in his face from the beginning, and no return on a 44-yard punt by Mike Vanderjagt. With key offensive players injured, the Edmonton Eskimos will get the ball back, but so far, Toronto's defensive players have been up to the challenge. Hey, tomorrow night, Taylor Field in Regina, the BC Lions and Saskatchewan Roughriders in the battle for second place in the Western Division. Should be a great one there at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Here, the Edmonton Eskimos started their 14-yard line with Jimmy Kemp at the controls, and that is picked. Johnny Harris has the interception down to the 20-yard line. Second interception thrown this year by Jimmy Kemp, and the Argos have great field position. And an angry Jimmy Kemp set the record for getting off the field.
Oh, this is a ball that he shouldn't have thrown. Look at Johnny Harris right here. Mark Torbert's in for Darren Flutie. He's just looking into the backfield, reading Kemp. He sees it all the way. I mean, you know, I don't know if Jimmy Kemp just didn't see Johnny Harris hanging in the weeds there, but, I mean, that's a ball that shouldn't be thrown. A great interception for Harris, but really a poor choice by Jim Kemp.
Now with a 3-point lead, the Argos a chance to add to it as they start at the Edmonton 20.
Well, with a turnover like that and a team like Toronto, here's where they have a chance to take control of this football game.
Drummond spins for 3 yards as he gets down to the 17-yard line. Jed Roberts helps make the stop, and not much you can do when you make a throw like that. Well, Kemp just said it was my fault.
You know, I've seen it over the years so many times. You get that tunnel vision, and sometimes you just don't see the defensive back, although he's right in front of you, and Jimmy Kemp would certainly like to have that one over again.
Now a key situation for the Edmonton defense after a pickup of 2. It's 2nd and 8, and they do well to limit the Argos to a field goal here.
And you know, it's the leading sacking team coming into this game. Edmonton really hasn't had a lot of pressure tonight.
They swing it out for Drummond. Drummond's got a ways to go, but he slides down inside the 10 to a 9. I'll tell you what, this guy is all legs, and now Robert Drummond has come up hurt.
Well, what you want your back to do is the ability to break tackles, and in order for Robert Drummond to get this first down, he has to do that, and the effort right here, and gets past Tommy Henry right now. Tommy Henry, not exactly a trained killer at linebacker, but nevertheless, give Robert Drummond credit. He broke the tackle, he got the extra 4 yards, and Toronto keeps this drive going and try to capitalize on that turnover.
Drummond leading the game in rushing and receiving, although the 18-yard rushing total not exactly overwhelming the statistical crew here.
Rushing has not been a focal point in this game tonight.
And it was indeed a first down for the Argo running back. Now 1st and 10 from exactly the 10. Flutie on the bootleg, being chased by Errol Martin, and Martin does a great job of cutting him out of bounds at the 7-yard line. Tell you what, Errol Martin gives up a lot in speed to Doug Flutie, but he hung in with it.
That's the old Sally Ran that Adam Rita likes, and it's the fake inside. What you're hoping is to have Errol Martin come down the line of scrimmage. He doesn't bite. He almost does, but he has such tremendous speed that Doug Flutie cannot run away from him.
Now it brings up 2nd down and 7, and the Edmonton defense hanging in there after the interception set the Argos up at the 20. Flutie, quick drop, and that pass for Mazzotti falls incomplete, and that was a little case of miscommunication between the quarterback and receiver.
Well, it's the same play that Mazzotti scored his touchdown on. Flutie throws it behind him, and this is on purpose. He's throwing it to a spot where he wants Mazzotti to come back and adjust to it. The cameraman gives it a Pele over there in the corner.
I was going to say the photographer was open.
But that is the play that he caught his touchdown on, the ability to come back to the football, and it was designed. Mazzotti just couldn't get there.
Now Vanderjagt for a chip shot field goal from the 14-yard line, and give the Edmonton Eskimos defense credit. Late in the first half, the Argos presented with great field position, managed just 3, and now after the interception, Edmonton holds Toronto to a field goal try. Vanderjagt puts it through, but the Eskimos still in it. Toronto's lead now up to 6 at 20-14. The CFL Live continues on TSN right after this.
Well, now, are you sure there's any fish in here at all? Because we haven't latched into one today yet.
Tired of sitting on the sidelines? Want to be part of the game?
Be offensive. Be radical. The CFL is back and more radical than ever. The action never stops. It's hard-hitting, high-scoring football. Get in the game. Wear the attitude. Come on, go, go, go. Woo! Be offensive. Be radical. CFL football. Get in the game. You having more popcorn?
Saturday night, our coverage of Week 8 wraps up with Hamilton at Montreal. Anthony Calvillo very much in the spotlight in week number 7, is standing by with Gino Retta.
And I guess, Anthony, the big question is, everybody knows there was no love lost between yourself and Don Southern before he got fired. Your thoughts on the dismissal of Don Southern?
Well, unfortunately, in this business, we got to deal with situations like that. Players got to deal with it every day, and unfortunately, coaches do as well. But we're kind of taking this and looking at this as a new start for our football club, and that's how we're going to look at it when we call out and play this week against Montreal.
As much as there was a lot of animosity between yourself and Don Southern, and you yourself said for a couple of weeks there you didn't even speak, there are a lot of guys on the team who really, really like Don Southern. Are you concerned about that?
Well, you know, I like Coach Suzy myself. You know, there was a couple of times we disagreed on certain things, but, you know, it's kind of tough when you lose your head coach because you don't ever want to see anybody go down like that, and unfortunately he did, and, you know, I have a total respect for Coach Suzy. He's a great football-minded coach.
Your thoughts now on the new head coach, Urban Bowman, taking over on an interim basis?
Well, you know, Urban, you know, coached before in Winnipeg as an intern when Cal Murphy went down, so he's been in this situation before, and he's a great coach, and everybody wants to play for him.
Thanks a lot for this, Anthony. Good luck on Saturday against the Alouettes.
Thank you, Gino.
And while that went on, a 37-yard kickoff return by Henry Williams, and Lester Smith saved a touchdown. Jimmy Kemp back in the game. Over the middle he goes. Mark Tobert in place of Darren Flutie makes the catch on Marcelo Simmons and gets into Toronto territory and down to the 46-yard line. So Edmonton with almost a lineup that would appear to be in a preseason game now, with your backup quarterback, backup slot back, a rookie at wide receiver. It's really thin on offense for Edmonton.
Well, the deck certainly seems to be stacked against Edmonton right now, but Jimmy Kemp's just going to have to keep making plays like he just made. He took a terrific hit from Reggie Gibbons when he released that football, but, you know, he's just going to have to tighten up that chin strap and just get the job done.
First down. Now Kemp gives it off to Tony Burse, and Burse puts his head down and slides down to the 36-yard line. That'll be a pickup of 9 and close to another Edmonton Eskimo first down.
Well, often when you come with the blitz, you create a seam. Here you see O'Shea going to the wide side of the field, and back weak, pretty good block by Leo Groenwagen on Andrew Stewart. Frees up Burse for some good yardage, and something that the Eskimos have not tried to do and not done well when they have tried to run the football. But here on a first down play, they get almost 9 yards, and if Jimmy Kemp is in the gambling mood right now, this would be a good place to do it.
Just short of a first down is Tony Burse, who dropped 15 pounds in the offseason to get ready for this year. He played at around 230, 235 last year, and he's down around 220 this year.
Well, I think it was clearly because of the style of the offense. This is not going to be a running team, although with 2 import backs, you might think that that's what they would want to do. And by dropping the weight, he's probably made himself quicker and a better target coming out of the backfield.
2nd and inches for the Eskimos at the Toronto 35-yard line. Kemp takes it straight ahead, so Kemp, who gets about 5 on the game, slides down to about the 31-yard line, and the drive will continue. And meantime, on the sidelines, there's Danny McManus with Ron Lancaster, and McManus talking to the offensive coordinator upstairs, whose name also happens to be Ron Lancaster Jr., who had to arrange for a few tickets to this game. Ron spent some time here in Toronto, and that's the problem when you come out. You got to get everybody's seats at the game. On first down, Kemp swings it out for Burse, and Burse puts his head down. Donald Smith got him low, and then Eric Johnson took him high, and Burse has a gain of 5.
And the beauty of the zone defense is you can allow yourself, because you're just protecting an area, to come up and make hits like that. A week ago, these were the numbers that Tony Burse had, and tonight Jimmy Kemp swings it out to him. I mean, this is a good play. If you're going to drop deep in zone, throw underneath. But watch how Eric Johnson and Donald Smith do a terrific job to come up and make the play. But you can only do that when you're in zone. It allows you to look into the backfield.
Now Kemp to the shotgun. As time has his man, Mark Tobert, but Tobert gets drilled by Marcelo Simmons and can't hang on. It'll bring up 3rd down, and Edmonton will have to try a field goal from about 33 yards out. And now the problem for Edmonton is that Darren Flutie is hurt, and he is Sean Fleming's holder.
Well, it's very apparent. There's Mark Tobert, the number 3 guy in. And the aggressiveness of the Toronto secondary tonight has really been a difference in this game. Marcelo Simmons comes up, and it's the hit that forces the ball loose.
So Jimmy Kemp will hold for Sean Fleming from 33 yards out.
And those numbers you see on your screen translate into a 81% success rate with field goals, and let's hope his punting hasn't let that affect it.
It's a fake. Kemp takes off around the corner, but he doesn't appear to get there. They'll mark him out of bounds at the 24-yard line. It will be Toronto football. A turnover on downs by the Edmonton Eskimos. And Ron Lancaster doesn't look the least bit happy about it.
Well, watch this. He misses the tee right there, Gord. I don't think this was a design play. He missed the tee. The kick probably wasn't going to be successful. Jimmy Kemp probably yelled, "Fire, fire, fire," as they do when something goes wrong. But he missed the tee.
You're right.
And although it looked pretty good like it was a fake, I mean, I don't think Fleming would have made that kick. Kemp just get it on top of the tee.
And now the Argos with the ball at their own 24-yard line, and a golden opportunity missed by Edmonton. Flutie from the shotgun as Mazzotti. Malcolm Frank gets up on him quickly, but Mazzotti should have a first down as he gets up to the 34-yard line. Doug Flutie doesn't throw deep very often. In fact, the only deep ball he's thrown tonight was picked off. And meantime, Jimmy Kemp's had his struggles. He's been intercepted, and that time had trouble getting the ball down on the tee. First down, Toronto. Flutie under pressure, gets away from Blue, and now Flutie with all kinds of room to run, darts for the sideline, gets out of bounds at the 44 with Tommy Henry in hot pursuit.
It's the same scenario as the last time that Flutie ran for successful yardage. I mean, he's got defensive backs chasing receivers. There's nobody up to support the line of scrimmage when Flutie approaches it. And look at all the room there that he has to go. Tommy Henry, the closest, was at least 15, 20 yards away when Flutie got to the line of scrimmage. So he's close to a first down, but again, in man-to-man coverage, a quarterback who breaks containment has an opportunity to make some positive yardage.
And just short of the first down. And Doug Flutie with 6 carries now in the game for 40 yards and a tidy 6-yard average per carry. and Flutie now takes over the game's rushing lead. He's also the leading passer in the game, as you might expect. Danny McManus went out late in the first half. Well, these two teams just digging in now, and it's up to the Edmonton defense, you'd have to think, to try to carry the day. But you know what? The Eskimos have been in this position a time or two before.
Well, they've been asked to do a lot of good things in the last few years to carry this team at certain points in the season, and tonight, with all their injuries on offense, there's no question they're being asked to do it again.
They've allowed the fewest touchdowns in the Canadian Football League and have held the Argos to just 2 through 3 quarters as Flutie dives straight ahead on what should be the final play and is the final play of the third. Toronto with a 6-point lead, but the fourth quarter is still to come. Stand by now as we send you back to our CFL Live Control Center.
Welcome back to CFL Live after 3 quarters. We have one other game going on. Winnipeg Stadium, the Blue Bombers hosting the Calgary Stampeders. Alan Pitts making his return for the Stamps, and they welcome him big time. That touchdown from Jeff Garcia, 9-yard strike, and it is Pitts from the Stamps leading it 7-0. We'll update that one as it develops throughout the rest of our game. But first of all, the Eskimos and the Toronto Argonauts and backup quarterbacks. And you know, recently, Marty, we've seen fewer, the marquee brand of quarterback, and I think the whole effect has trickled down to the backups as well.
Yeah, and this isn't to pick on Jimmy Kemp or anything like that, Rod, but you're quite right. There is a dearth of good second-string quarterbacks in the CFL right now, and I think it has a lot to do with the salary cap being reduced. They can't afford to pay second-string quarterbacks as much as they used to, so you're getting a little bit lower caliber second-stringers. So you've got guys like Marvin Graves in Montreal and Julio Caravata in BC, and Hamilton's resurrecting Ricky Foggy from the Arena League this week. And McManus at one point was a terrific second-string quarterback, and remember, there was a good second-string quarterback in Calgary in Garcia.
There's a reason why these quarterbacks, the second team, don't get that many reps in practice. Third-team quarterbacks get none, and they have to run the practice roster, and they have to throw it where the guys circle. They don't get any reps. They don't get a chance to get any better, until they get playing time.
And the other point being is that when you get into this situation, it's imperative that the club, their personnel people, that they find a good young quarterback that they can bring into the league and then, nurture him and bring him along. Edmonton was fantastic for that when they used to develop their young quarterbacks. But you're right about the salary situation. It has changed since those years.
And let's face it, the league this season, they're missing Kent Austin, and Matt Dunnigan is a big loss. And there's no more David Archer on the field either. So
and Tom Burgess. There's a few, yeah. David Archer's a big one. But we have him now.
Well, certainly Edmonton is missing Danny McManus so far in this one. Jimmy Kemp, no slight on him, but Danny Mac, one of the premier quarterbacks in the CFL this season. The Eskimos head to the fourth quarter, trailing the Argos by 6. Back to Skydo.
All right, Rod, and the Toronto Argonauts have the ball on the march at their own 47-yard line with a 6-point lead as we open the fourth quarter on a pretty nice night. Toronto on the roof open here at Skydo.
It's a beautiful night. The third quarter, a pretty slow quarter for both teams. Defense is dominating.
Flutie from the shotgun. Has lots of time. Has Mike Clemens, and what a shot he took from Tommy Henry right at midfield. He has a pickup of 7 yards. The numbers through 3 quarters, and you can see that there's not much to choose, passing, rushing, or net. The turnovers are the same, but the difference is, of course, that Edmonton is playing without its #1 quarterback. And should correct something from earlier, Jimmy Kemp is the regular holder for Sean Fleming. Flutie has held before in his career, but Jimmy Kemp is the man who holds for Fleming on placements.
And he missed the tee.
Good point. You always have to have the last word, don't you, Lee? Never leave me with the last word, do you? Second and a couple. Flutie takes off outside and throws it there for Daryl Mitchell. Great catch by Mitchell, who had 2 guys on him, and gets inside the 40-yard line. Tommy Henry and Kavis Reed all over him, but Mitchell somehow caught that ball.
I don't think there's any question he is much more comfortable running away from people than running patterns where he's got to work back to the quarterback. That is a great catch. He knows he's going to be hit, but he's willing to stretch out and make the play, and that's a lovely catch. And I think Daryl Mitchell has some terrific potential to be a good receiver. He needs to work on some of his skills, but when you're willing to lay out like that and take a hit, or potentially take a hit, it shows me a lot of character.
First down, Flutie from the shotgun. Gets past the first man. Now Flutie into the Edmonton backfield, just jumps down to the 30-yard line. And after watching quarterbacks like Jeff Garcia and Reggie Slack get clocked last week, Flutie taking no chances.
And I think, you know, we've had a lot of discussions. David Archer and I have argued last week about quarterbacks and, you know, are they fair game or not fair game? But I think this really points out that here's a quarterback that knows the rule. And if he doesn't want to get hit, you go down early and make sure you're not going to get hit. See, as he gets near people, he just goes down, and then there's no questionable calls that could be made.
Now, Flutie looks to be limping a little bit as he gives the ball off on second down. And Flutie did go down a little early there, and I think he might be shaken up. In fact, I think his right leg may be a little sore, and you can see Flutie there trying to stretch it out a little bit, and now going down as he tries to stretch out that right leg. It looked like when Flutie slid on the turf, and we'll have another look at it, it looked like he kind of slid down a little early.
I think you're exactly right, and he's reaching for the hamstring, and right now he's trying to stretch out that hamstring muscle, and well, I think you've spotted something there. He's having some problems with that leg.
Would it be something if both starting quarterbacks had to go to the sidelines in this game?
I wouldn't want to see that.
Well, just a 6-point Toronto lead. The Argos trying to add to it, but Flutie very slowly making his way to his position. It's a first down at the 29-yard line. Flutie changing the play, just gets it off. Oh, he's laboring noticeably. Throws it up there. It's knocked down by Bruce Dixon, but Doug Flutie really does appear to be laboring noticeably here. It'll bring up second down.
Bruce Dixon, the man in the middle, and if Toronto's going to continue with crossing routes, it puts a lot of pressure on him to read the patterns and pick out a guy. And this is a heck of a play to locate Mazzotti, come across and get a hand on it. That's a tough play to make. He did a nice pivot around, and well, that's a good job.
January of '93, Edmonton and Toronto made the 8-for-8 trade. Bruce Dixon, the only player among those 16 in the game tonight. Flutie under pressure, sidearms it out there. Oh, what a catch by Mitchell. Edmonton arguing no catch, but the officials say it was, and it's a first down Toronto. Mitchell turning into Mr. Clutch for Toronto.
Well, he's having a good second half here catching the football. I don't think there's any question he's got terrific hands, and Flutie steps up and delivers a strike here. Take a look.
Wow.
That's great body control in the air to adjust yourself to the football, concentrate to make the catch, and pretty impressive.
Mitchell now with 4 catches for 58 yards and another Toronto first down. Flutie remains in the game from the 18. Over the middle, Mike Saunders has the catch. Glenn Rogers and Trent Brown knock him down, but he's close to another first down as he gets to the 8th and getting him the ball, and suddenly he turns into what he's been most of his career, a running back.
Well, you look at the pass rush of Edmonton. They're getting some pressure, but it's just, as always, just a little bit late. Here comes Derek McCready. Finally gets loose, but the ball is long gone to Mike Saunders cutting over the middle. And Toronto, who struggled in the third quarter offensively, have now picked up the pace here to begin the fourth.
Edmonton does not have a quarterback sack in this game. The Argos have allowed just 11 on the season. On first down, Drummond runs into Willie Pless and gets the first down as he slides down to the 3-yard line. And meantime, on the Toronto sideline, Andre Ware stretching and noticing that Doug Flutie's a little shaken up. Ware getting ready for perhaps his chance. And of course, Ware, like Flutie, a Heisman Trophy winner. Ware won his at the University of Houston in 1989. Former quarterback for Ottawa and BC, and John Jenkins, who was his coach in college, believes he can still be a productive quarterback in the CFL. First and goal, Argos from the 4. Flutie all day, now in trouble to the end zone. Nobody even close. Jed Roberts and Maurice Miller got in on him, but there was no one even near that pass.
And the lack of mobility with the hamstring problem hurting Doug Flutie. Normally he would have taken off and run with the football, but he just wanted to avoid the sack, throw it to an open area, and this is very uncharacteristic of Doug Flutie. On the play action, everybody is frozen, but then finally when the pressure comes from the outside, he just can't run away from it, and that was Maurice Miller coming in and filling in at linebacker, but Flutie clearly is having some great difficulty with that right leg.
Second and goal. Flutie in the shotgun. Saunders with his second touchdown catch of the game, and the Argos finally break through this Edmonton defense, and 2 would be the play here for the Argos. It's a 26-14 lead, and Flutie arguing with the bench that Toronto should go for 2, and they will.
Smart call by Flutie to go for 2, but Mike Saunders, again, he dropped the touchdown earlier on a terrific move, and that time working on Willie Pless, he just made a terrific play to break himself free, and he's been working so hard on that move to the inside and then pivoting back to the outside, and it worked to perfection.
With a 12-point lead, the Argos will try to make it 2 full touchdowns.
And I think the couple with that great move by Saunders, the offensive line gave Doug Flutie on that touchdown pass a heck of a lot of time to throw.
One shot from the 5. Flutie steps up to the end zone. Clemens has the 2. Working on Willie Pless. Mike Clemens makes the grab for 2, and the Argos, with 9:16 to play in the 4th quarter, have made it a 2-touchdown lead. Edmonton and Toronto met 3 times last year, and they were 3 of the best games of the year. Toronto beat Edmonton on a field goal by Mike Vanderjagt, and then Edmonton and Toronto in a 7-point game won by the Argos, and of course the Grey Cup in 1996 in Hamilton, one of the best championship games ever played. Henry Williams takes the kickoff at the 17-yard line. Check that, that's Eric Blunt, and Blunt sliding his way through the middle, still going, gets out to the 52-yard line. All of this comes after the Mike Saunders touchdown grab, his 2nd of the game.
Well, we talked about his effort to get open. Initially, he wants to go over the top on Willie Pless, but when he sees his quarterback in trouble, he pivots back to the outside and makes himself a terrific target for Doug Flutie to find. Here it is right here. Pless can't stay with him. That's a lot to ask from Willie Pless to cover Mike Saunders like that.
Flutie throws the touchdown. Great. Yeah, let's go for 2, he says. Right away, he's looking back at the bench and saying, go for 2. An extra coach on the field.
Absolutely. He's got a terrific mind and always a clear thinker out there.
From the 52-yard line, the give goes off to Blunt, and Blunt gets down to the Toronto 51-yard line. So the Argos really chew up the clock on that touchdown drive. And it's capped off by Mike Saunders on the touchdown. 13 plays, 86 yards, over 6.5 minutes. And you can see that as this is going on, Doug Flutie being stretched out on the Toronto sideline. And at what point did the Argos decide the lead's big enough and let Andre Ware play?
Well, I suspect, looking at Doug Flutie right now, it's a hamstring strain. It's certainly not a tear, or he wouldn't be moving like that.
Meantime, Andrew Stewart down on the field for the Toronto Argonauts.
Well, I can't say enough about guys like Andrew Stewart. He and Rob Waldrop, you don't talk about these 2 tackles a lot, but I think if you talk to Bill Bradley, their defensive coordinator, and you said, what are the strengths of my defense? I mean, there are a lot. But you really have to point to Andrew Stewart and Rob Waldrop. I know I say this in a lot of Toronto telecasts, but these 2 tackles, it's not a lot of fun to play that position, but they come hard on every play. They push the pocket. They create opportunities for Reggie Givens and Demetrius Maxey, the rush ends on the outside, and they're just terrific football players.
And no shortage of them on this Toronto team, or Edmonton for that matter. 2 teams that are well-stocked and deep, and Edmonton's depth being sorely tested in this game. And you can see what happened to Andrew Stewart, if you can, near the end of the play. He's just on the bottom of the pile. And number 73, slow to get up, but has now made his way off the field. His place will be taken out there by John Raposo. 2nd and short. This is Blunt, and he goes nowhere. And jumping in to make the stop, Noah Cantor, number 51, jumps up. And it was Cantor, not Raposo, who came in for Andrew Stewart. And Cantor makes a quick stop and brings up 3rd down.
And Noah Cantor right here, watch as he fights through the block of the left guard, Derek Scholdice. And this is a heck of an effort by him. Noah Cantor not been in the game, only for 1 play, and he just beats the block. They double team Reggie Givens, but it doesn't matter because his buddy Noah Cantor to the inside beats the block and makes the play in the backfield. Now sets him up 3rd down.
Fleming to punt. Good kick by Fleming. Sends Clemens back to the 5. And the pinball gets as far as the 13-yard line. A flag comes down at the end of the play. Mark Fairway comes up to make the tackle. A 45-yard punt, a return of 7. Edmonton has the ball, but trails by 14. Well, the game story, there's more than a few of them. Danny McManus, before he got hurt, was having a pretty good night. Sean Fleming, not so much the case. Glenn Rogers has 2 interceptions. Mike Saunders has 2 touchdown catches. And Doug Flutie having just another one of those nights. 3 touchdown passes already for number 2 in this game. And he remains in the football game despite being shaken up on the last drive. And the Argos, with a penalty for an illegal block, will now start at their own 7-yard line.
And with 7:50 remaining in this fourth quarter, I think the Edmonton defense has to start thinking turnovers, strips, or interceptions. Do something to get in this game.
They swing it out for the pinball, and Mike Clemens fights his way out to the 16-yard line before Bruce Dixon brings him down along with Trent Brown, close to another Toronto first down. And earlier, Mike the Pinball Clemens set the Argo team record for most receptions, passing Dick Shadow, the CFL Hall of Famer. And I have a suspicion that when his career is over, Mr. Clemens will make the journey down the highway to Hamilton and join the list of luminaries in the Hall of Fame.
I'd say that's a pretty good bet. You know what? This is the second time that I can recall that Toronto has started deep in their own territory, and your first goal in this situation is to try and get 2 first downs. So if you have to punt, at least you have reestablished some sort of field position. So they're a couple inches away from 1. They did it earlier in the game, and now they're facing the same test here.
Flutie gives it off to Robert Drummond. Willie Pless makes the stop, and Drummond will have a first down as he gets out to the 18-yard line. Well, 2 men who know their way around the Canadian Football League. 58-year-old Ron Lancaster, the coach of the Edmonton Eskimos. And on the other side, the winningest active coach in the CFL. Soon to become the winningest coach ever in this league, Don Matthews. And a pretty good bet to do it this year. He needs 5 wins to pass the professor, Frank Clare. Flutie from the shotgun. Sidearms it underneath. Mike Saunders took a shot from Glenn Rogers and took another from Tommy Henry, but Saunders has taken more than a few of those in his career, and he manages to hang on. And you can see Saunders feeling the effects of the hit.
And here's Mike Saunders. He's going to work across the field like this, and you know, has Tommy Henry been a little bit bigger, he had a chance to really unload right here, but he just doesn't get a lot of helmet on Saunders. But you know, if Henry was a true linebacker, he could have really made Saunders pay the price for coming across the middle.
Here comes the blitz from Edmonton on 2nd down. Flutie gets it away to Saunders again. Glenn Rogers makes the stop again, but Saunders has the first down out to the Toronto 32-yard line.
And I think, Gord, it's interesting, the comment I made earlier about my conversation with Mike Saunders, was he feeling more comfortable as a slot back? Well, you look at that pivot move against a terrific inside safety like Glenn Rogers, I'd say he's getting comfortable in a hurry at that position.
And now the Argos still on the move and grinding the clock down. Under 6 minutes rather to play in the fourth quarter.
And they've had 3 first downs to get it out of the shadow of their own goalpost. And you know, you look at attributes of an offense and what do they do well, and certainly there's a lot of things that Toronto does well. But when they can take the ball from their own 5-7 yard line, where they started this drive, and grind it out, eat up the clock in the fourth quarter, to me, that is the true measure of how good or how effective an offense is.
Last touchdown drive was 13 plays. Now Flutie walks over casually to Drummond. Just taking some time off the clock. Direct snap to the Argo running back, and here he goes, Robert Drummond. And they're not going to get him. Touchdown, Toronto. 78 yards. Doug Flutie walks over to Drummond and says, hey, you take the snap, and away he goes. How about that, Lee? He went right over and talked to the ball carrier.
Well, again, you know, you got to look at the center. Here's Mike Kiselak And watch how they get the fold on McCready right there, and then the direct snap. And there's just a natural lane that's created right here for Drummond. A double team on both tackles, and Robert Drummond is off to the races, and no one will catch him. He's got world-class speed in the 100 meters, and he showed it right there.
Now the point after from Mike Vanderjagt. And the Argos looking to make it a 3-touchdown lead with 5:18 to play.
Well, you know, I talked about their ability to put 3 first downs together to move it out of their own end, and now you cap it off with a play like that. I mean, it's just an offensive production you just have to admire.
5:03 to go, and the Toronto Argonauts starting to blow it open in the Grey Cup rematch. Argos 35, Eskimos 14. Well, we told you earlier the Argos team policy is they don't lose 2 in a row, and no fines apparently will be handed out this week. There's Toronto now with a 21-point lead in 5 minutes to play. Eric Blunt and Henry Williams back to receive the kickoff from Mike Vanderjagt.
Well, you can't hide the fact that Edmonton has been depleted with injuries, but as well, Toronto's had a very solid performance tonight, coming off a loss a week ago that you talked about.
Here's Blunt from the 20-yard line, and Eric Blunt bumps into a falling Mike O'Shea, chased outside. He gets out to the 39-yard line. Well, Robert Drummond goes on the touchdown run, but it looked like they kind of made this one up. As we told you, Flutie just kind of casually walks over and talks to him.
Yeah, he said, my hamstring's sore. It's a quarterback draw, but step in front of me at the snap, and you just take it. And we've had word from the sidelines. See, watch Drummond step in front. There he goes.
You know what, Leaf? If I was the Argos, I'd do that again.
I'd say that's in the playbook forever.
But now if you're on defense, every time you see Flutie go over and talk to Drummond, you better have your eyes on number 29.
But you know, some people will say, oh, no, they didn't do that. They didn't improvise like that. Trust me, Doug Flutie and his group have the ability to do that and make it up on the run.
Kemp now. He takes a shot. And that ball is picked off by Adrian Smith. Down at the 52-yard line, Adrian Smith comes up with the interception, his second of the year. And Jimmy Kemp is having one of those nights.
And Jimmy Kemp took an enormous shot as he threw this football, and it comes up with the interception. But it's a heck of a play by Adrian Smith to make the catch. They run the twist. Here comes Reggie Givens, and that is a freebie. Maxey goes inside, Givens to the outside, a little different alignment. Usually Givens is on the other side of the formation as a rush end. They gave Edmonton a different look, and they couldn't handle it on the blocking scheme.
Adrian Smith shaken up as he made his way to the sidelines, and Jimmy Kemp a little bruised as well. Direct snap again to Drummond. They are going to do it again. And look at Drummond go. A first down into Edmonton territory at the 48-yard line.
There was a switch. Flutie didn't have to tell him this time.
Now they just know. Let's go down to Gino Reda.
Well, Gord, you start to wonder how much longer Doug Flutie is going to stay in the game with that tight hamstring. He just had a conversation with Don Matthews. Said, Don, if you want me to come out, I'll come out. And Matthews paused for a second, said, not yet. Not yet. Hang on, but not yet.
I'll tell you what, Doug Flutie used to take a tow truck to get him out of the game, and now he's offering to come out. He really is mellowing.
Well, I think he's hurting.
On first down, Flutie under pressure has Daryl Mitchell, and Daryl Mitchell has very close to first down yardage as he gets down to the 37, and Daryl certainly thinks he got there.
And he sure loves to come across the middle. We've talked about that tonight. He's having a good night on those 5 catches. It seems like every one was either 1 to the outside, and I believe 4 on crossing patterns, and you know, he's had a good night.
First-year man out of Texas Tech University, and he was their second leading receiver entering this game. How about that for a first-year player? But Flutie likes him and thinks that he'll only get better as the season progresses. He did get the first down. Now Flutie swings it out for the pinball. Clemens waiting for his blocks. Gets down to the 33-yard line before he's thrown out of bounds by Kavis Reed. And now Kavis Reed is slow to get up. We've reached the 3-minute warning at Skydome. 2:48 to go. The Argos with a 35-14 lead in the Grey Cup rematch.
Well, now, you sure there's any fish in here at all? Because we haven't latched into one today yet.
Tired of sitting on the sidelines? Want to be part of the game?
Be a offensive. Be radical. The CFL is back and more radical than ever. The action never stops. It's hard-hitting, high-scoring football. Get in the game. Wear the attitude. Come on, go, go, go. Woo! Be offensive. Be radical. CFL football. Get in the game. You having more popcorn?
This is not the headgear the Edmonton Eskimos wanted Danny McManus wearing, and they didn't want to see Darren Flutie on the sidelines either, but he is. And we're told that Darren Flutie has a pulled hamstring. And as a result, he has missed the balance of the game as well. The Edmonton Eskimos entered this game without Eddie Brown, who has been suffering side effects from medication. And the Eskimos wanted to say hello to Eddie Brown. Coach Ron Lancaster saying he was thinking about him and hoping he'd be back soon. And now the Eskimos will worry about Brown, Flutie, and McManus. And no disrespect to the rest of the offense, but that's the heart of the Edmonton offense. You take Darren Flutie, Eddie Brown, and Danny McManus out, and that's the core of that team.
I guess I'm just wondering why we haven't seen Henry the Gizmo Williams in on offense then tonight with these injuries to Darren Flutie, that, you know, with his explosiveness, that you might want to use him a little bit. But I mean, that's not second guessing or anything. Obviously there's a reason, but I just thought we might see him a little bit on offense.
The explosions have been going one way here in the second half. Now lined up at wide receiver. Robert Drummond was likely gone for a big gain, but Malcolm Frank was able to trip him up. You watch Robert Drummond. He lines up at fullback, tailback, wide receiver, slot back, you name it.
Well, usually when you line up your running back at a wide receiver, you're hoping that the corner covers him, so maybe you create a mismatch somewhere else with a speedier receiver on a slower defensive back. But in Robert Drummond's case, as fast as he is, you know, you do need a corner out there to cover him.
Robert Drummond's amazing. He's my height, but standing next to him, his belt is about 6 inches higher off the ground than mine. He's all legs, and that makes him a tough man to tackle.
You know what I've liked about him tonight too, in those short yardage situations, he runs so hard into that line of scrimmage. I mean, he knows at times he's going to have to run over somebody to get a first down, and he really seems to want to take on that challenge.
Mike Vanderjagt with fond memories of the last time he saw the Edmonton Eskimos 5 for 5 in the Grey Cup game.
And Canadian player of the game.
Yes.
I was always amazed at the skill level that they played at in the snow last year.
It is remarkable when you think about it. I mean, the length of touchdowns that were scored in that game was astonishing.
And the kicking game was good. I mean, guys were not falling all over the place like you might suspect.
Well, I did, but
I came away from that game just with a tremendous feeling for the athleticism that both teams had.
Vanderjagt from 35 yards out is 3 for 3. 2:06 to play now in the fourth quarter. And give all the credit you want to the Toronto Argonaut offense, but I'll tell you what, you talk about this Toronto defense, and it has really come into its own. In 25 defensive categories, the Argos lead in 12, and they've allowed the fewest passing yards a game, and most importantly, the fewest first downs in the Canadian Football League through 7 weeks of the season. We take you back to action earlier in the game, the third down gamble from the 1.
And it was Demetrius Maxey, number 91, who met Tony Burse in the backfield. Edmonton didn't score, and there was many turning points in this game, but that certainly was a big one as well.
Now Kemp from the shotgun. Lots of time for Jimmy Kemp. Has a man, but Shannon Myers saw the pass go in behind him and incomplete. And the Edmonton Eskimos will go home now and talk about what might have been had their starting quarterback not been hurt, because they were right in the game when he was.
Well, I think you look at the Western Conference too, with Edmonton atop at 6-1. Now Saskatchewan and BC, the game you're going to see on Friday Night Football tomorrow night, are both 4-3. They're playing for second place, but you know, after tomorrow night, you're going to have a race again in the Western Conference.
Boy, look at the time of possession of the second half. Lopsided for the Toronto Argonauts. Next week, the Edmonton Eskimos at home to Hamilton. Jimmy Kemp up over the middle. That was almost intercepted, as well as Johnny Harris, who has had his hands on the football all night. Couldn't squeeze that one. And Johnny Harris, I don't think, is going to enjoy watching the defensive game film this week, because you'll see all these picks that got away.
Well, and here's Johnny Harris right there, and watch, he's just reading back into the backfield. Now he breaks onto the football right here. Somebody comes into his area, Don Blair, and he just adjusts to the flight pattern of the football. And I'll tell you one thing, the Toronto defensive backs are going to be very eager to watch this film tomorrow because they've done a lot of good things.
Sean Fleming back to punt. Mike Clemens back at the 30-yard line. And Clemens, running in place, gets down to the 33-yard line, a 45-yard kick, a return of 3, and now for the Toronto Argonauts, we'll get a look at Andre Ware, who has seen very limited action this year. He's completed just 2 passes. He's tried only 2 passes and run the ball once, so the Heisman Trophy winner from the University of Houston will come in for the Toronto Argonauts. And in his first 2 years in the Canadian Football League in limited action, threw 8 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions. But he's got size, the ability to run, and now the Argos hope a grasp of the Canadian Football League game. The question is, how do you run this Doug Flutie offense? With running backs at wide receiver and shovel passes and you name it. This is Drummond. Bouncing outside, and the Argos show Andre Ware how you run the offense. Give it to Drummond, and that works for another first down as he bounces out to the 45-yard line. Heisman and Heisman. The only Heisman Trophy duo to play quarterback on the same pro team at the same time. And really not a gamble for the Argos when you think about the amount of time that Doug Flutie plays. To get a guy like Andre Ware as the backup, it's a pretty good move for them.
Yeah, I think it is. You know, I don't think there's any question Andre Ware, since he's come to the CFL, has struggled, not played well, but, you know, obviously the thought process is that John Jenkins, his former college coach at the University of Houston, is going to be probably a security blanket for him, and they hope he can develop.
Ware almost had that picked off by Tommy Henry. As it is, the pass will fall incomplete. That's his first incompletion of the year. It comes in week number 8, so he can take that to the bank. And 1:08 to play. The Argos will have second down. And watching upstairs, the man seated is John Jenkins, the Toronto offensive coordinator, who spent some time in Hamilton last year, twice. Hired, fired, and rehired. Now comes to Toronto in place of Adam Rita. Now, being Doug Flutie's offensive coordinator has to be pretty interesting because he's got some pretty definite ideas about the way he wants things done. But apparently the relationship is great between the two. They give it off to Drummond, and Drummond fights his way out across the 53. He'll be just short of a Toronto first down. While the standings as week number 8 begins, the election desk declares Edmonton the loser here, so the Eskimos will fall to 6-2. Saskatchewan and BC play tomorrow. Calgary, Winnipeg are in action tonight. And in the Eastern Division, Toronto will improve to 6-2. Montreal plays Hamilton on Saturday. 2 6-2 teams come out of week number 8, and Edmonton's, of course, looking ahead, not too far ahead, but back-to-back with Calgary coming up as the resurgent Stampeders will play a home-and-home with Edmonton on the first week of September. Vanderjagt gets the kick away just to Don Blair at the 23-yard line, and Blair is pushed out of bounds immediately up at the 30 with 51 seconds left. Well, tomorrow, Al Shipman and the BC Lions take on the Saskatchewan Roughriders at Taylor Field. I'll be there along with Glenn Sooner and David Archer to bring you all the action from Saskatchewan. They're expecting a big crowd there, and Rory Philpott will not be in the lineup for BC this week. The Lions coming off a thrashing at the hands of the Montreal Alouettes.
Of course, the Roughriders coming off the win in Hamilton on Friday night a week ago.
On first down, Jimmy Kemp getting some work for Edmonton. Gets the ball off to Mark Tolbert, and Tolbert has it up at about the 39-yard line. Well, we talked about the Toronto team policy, but it really is something when you think about it that a Don Matthews team hasn't lost back-to-back games since 1995, and that year they went 15-3 and won the Grey Cup. And Doug Flutie not used to it either, so when you have those high standards, things get done. And here the Gary goes to Eric Blunt. He goes out to the 45-yard line. And another part of the puzzle here in Toronto is the general manager, Eric Tillman, you see here.
Well, you know, you look at the Toronto Argonauts, and they've certainly upgraded Canadian talent. I don't think there's any question. And Eric Tillman becomes a big part of that with their assessment of players and their ability to bolster their roster. I've always been an Eric Tillman fan, and he's going to do nothing but enhance this organization as they strive for a repeat of a Grey Cup performance.
Kemp completes it out there to Blunt. Interesting when you look at Edmonton and Toronto, and it's no secret why some teams are successful. I thought Tom Shepard, the past president of Saskatchewan, said it best when he said that Edmonton runs its team like the league's going to be around for a while. Like they're planning already 3 or 4 years down the road with Marcus Crandall and others. The Argos have 5 rookie Canadians in their lineup this year.
Well, they've done a great job, and we really haven't talked about that much tonight.
Kemp gets it to a wide-open Andre Bolduc, and Bolduc, as a flag comes down, gets down to the 21-yard line. He was helped there, likely by an illegal block, a gain of 41 yards. But Andre Bolduc into the lineup for Edmonton in place of the injured Jay Hamilton, playing in the stadium where he made his CFL debut last year for Ottawa.
Right.
And it was an illegal block by Edmonton with 5 seconds left in the game.
Illegal block, Edmonton number 20 after the first down.
Don Blair with the illegal block.
Andre Bolduc, of course, picked up in the dispersal draft with the Ottawa Roughriders, an extremely versatile player who can play slot back, running back, in a number of positions, and I thought played exceptionally well with Ottawa last year. And I know at some point in time Edmonton is going to be able to work him into the lineup.
How about wearing number 12, Tom Wilkinson's old number? First down, Kemp wants to go to the end zone, and the only guy there is Don Smith.
Cast it all.
He makes the interception on the final play of the game, and the Argo defense working hand in hand on an outstanding offensive evening for the offense wraps it up. A 38-14 win for the Argos, who improved their record to 6-2 on the season. The CFL Live on TSN continues right after this.
In Winnipeg tonight, 21-10 at the half for the Stampeders over the Blue Bombers. Jeff Garcia scored one. He's also thrown touchdown passes to Alan Pitts and to Terry Vaughn as well. And Calgary looking to improve to the 500 mark tonight. Winnipeg could be falling to 1-7. At Skydome, it was the Argos big time over the Edmonton Eskimos. Both teams now at 6-2 on top of the CFL standings. No doubt this will spark some debate, guys, on who is number 1 in the Canadian Football League. It's strictly subjective, but go ahead. Each of you take your shots. Obi, starting with you. Who's the best?
Well, I think after this game, you have to say that Toronto's the best, and I know that Edmonton was losing McManus. He got hurt, and they need him to be a good football team, but tonight, Toronto was a much better football team when you look at offense, defense, and special teams.
Tonight, Toronto didn't impress me as much as they impressed you, Coach. When they lost Danny McManus, Edmonton lost Danny McManus. That was through with them. They were done, and they should have ate up. Their score should have been a lot worse than what it was, and Toronto just didn't do it. They left Doug Flutie in the game for a long time just to see if they could get some more points on it. And
so who's the best team?
I'd go with Edmonton right now.
I think Saskatchewan's the best team.
And I was worried about him saying Hamilton.
No, you know what? I think that I honestly think Toronto and Edmonton are pretty equal. I agree with you, Les. I think with McManus in the game, it's a completely different story. I'm really looking forward to seeing the game between the Argos and the Eskimos in Edmonton on September 20th. Presumably McManus will be healthy then. It'll be in Edmonton. They'll have the home field advantage. I think you'll see a different story. It certainly will be a lot closer in that game than it was tonight, I bet.
Well, you know, one thing about tonight's game, you got to give a lot of credit to the Toronto offensive line in this particular game. Those guys, Edmonton was leading the league with 28 sacks going into this game tonight. They didn't touch the quarterback once for a sack, and they played a heck of a game, and they opened holes. They just did a heck of a job of taking care of their quarterback and their running backs.
You know, here I am with the last word, and I get to do what? Sit on the fence and say, doesn't matter who the best is now, especially with Edmonton. When you see them late in the year, makes all the difference. They meet again, by the way, in September at Commonwealth Stadium. We're up next. Friday Night Football. Saskatchewan Roughriders, BC Lions, both liking the outcome tonight. Looking to get sole possession of second place. 2 games, 2 points behind. We got tennis coming up next. The Demore Open from the National Tennis Center, York University in Toronto. Arancha Sanchez-Vicario and Mary Jo Fernandez. Once again, Toronto Argonauts, Robert Drummond and company run away with it. Big time over the Eskimos. We're out of time on CFL Live. Thanks for watching. From everyone here, have a great night. So long.
Good night.